Chapter 130. That night, after the video conference ended, everyone was divided into two groups and began to prepare for the next step. The first group was the prison break team. The group consisted of Colored Glaze, Takahara Masato, Sensible Goro, and all the members of the Rulong Security Company. The members of this group would start preparing for the mission of breaking out of prison and rescuing Tong Shun Kazuma. Sensible Goro was in charge of using the internet and the police station's power to quickly search for the layout of the nesting duck prison, as well as other research work. Takahara Masato was in charge of mobilizing the members of the Rulong Security Company to carry out heavy physical work, such as drilling the sewers and digging tunnels. Colored Glaze was giving instructions behind the scenes while preparing to contact her mother, Kaneshiro Rui, in an attempt to get her to send her family's combat power to harass the Tenma group. As for the second group, it was the kidnapping team. The group consisted of Ryuto Kiryu, Union Tsukimi, Narukai Otani, Kamida Momoyama, and the others. The members of this group would start preparing to infiltrate the Tokyo Emperor Hotel and kidnap Dunya tonight. Union had already received an invitation and could freely enter the Tokyo Emperor Hotel tomorrow. It was naturally the most convenient for her to partner up with Ryuto to infiltrate and kidnap Dunya. The rest of the work would be carried out by Narukai Otani and Kamida Momoyama. These two were also Ryuto's most trusted aides in the Rulong group. It was a pity that Kawaki Nam was picking up soap in prison. Otherwise, there would be one more person to use. Since they only had 30 hours at most, everyone's tasks were quite heavy. It could be said that they were racing against time, especially Sensible and Takahara. They didn't even have time to sleep. Even so, no one complained about such heavy work. After all, everyone knew that this was a crucial battle against the Tenma group, and it was the kind that involved many lives. Under such circumstances, Ryuto naturally did not rest. Instead, he spent the entire night preparing for the kidnapping and escape. Although everyone had a lot of work to do this time, the one who was truly in danger was Ryuto himself. He wanted to sneak into the Tokyo Imperial Hotel and kidnap the young lady in front of so many martial artists of the Saitu Guild. That was one thing. Moreover, after taking Dunya away, the two of them still had to run around Tokyo without being caught. This was actually the most dangerous thing. If he took Dunya away, Ryuto would be attacked from both sides by the Saitu Guild and the Heavenly Eye group. The former wanted to find Dunya and kill Ryuto. The latter wanted to take away Dunya and perhaps kill Ryuto as well. In other words, the kidnapping was only 30% of the mission's difficulty. The remaining 70% was in the process of stalling for time. After all, it was not easy to fool around for more than 10 hours. For this, Ryuto needed to make a lot of preparations. After arranging for Narukai and Kamida to rush to the Tokyo Emperor Hotel overnight, he first inquired about the nearby situation. Ryuto also asked advisor Fujiki to find him some of the best people and borrow some money from him. Looking at the list of items Ryuto handed over, Fujiki initially thought that the young master was going to fight with the army. After asking, he found out that it was related to the life and death of the team leader. Since it involves the boss, then these old bones of mine will naturally do my best. Don't worry, I'll prepare the things you want. Also, this is the maximum amount of money that the group can provide. Fujiki took the list and nodded. He then took out a few bags of money from the safe and stuffed them into Ryuto's hands. Because the Rulong Security Company had not started to make a profit, the Rulong group was actually quite tight. Even so, they could still take out tens of millions. Therefore, after Ryuto arranged the preparations for tonight, he took the bags of money and returned to his room. This time, Mr. Fujiki had taken out more than 50 million in cash. In addition to the 30 million he had won from the Battle of the Dragons, as well as the money he had earned from killing monsters in the past few nights, he now had a huge sum of money in his hands. When he opened the status panel, he could see that Ryuto's current status was as follows. Name: Ryuto Kiryuichi, 16 status. Intelligence LV2, Physique LV3, Courage LV3, Insight LV2, Charm LV3 title. Combat Apprentice. obtained after defeating 500 enemies. Combat ability increased by 10% when equipped. Equipment: M9 pistol, excellent. Taser stun gun, excellent. Dragon tooth serrated knife, excellent tools. Rogue Velcro, Rogue analysis mirror, Rogue voice changing mask skills, Furamaki style martial arts, Ironbone mastery, Copper skin mastery, Parkour master, Rogue immortality. Total assets $94 for 17,800. The combat apprentice title that Ryuto was currently using was unexpectedly obtained after he went out to talk with someone every night. When wearing this title, it could directly increase combat ability, including speed, strength, endurance, resistance, and so on. Although a 10% increase did not seem like much, but considering Ryuto's current LV3 physique, professional master level physical fitness, and a lot of active and passive buffs, this additional 10% was actually quite obvious. The most important thing was that Ryuto had a lot of money in his hands that he could use. To put it simply, this was the first time in his life that he, Ryuto Kiryu, had seen so much money. A total of 94 million. 94 million, aha! Looking at the huge amount of numbers in his assets column, Ryuto could not help but do a strange dance. Money was a good thing. Especially for Ryuto, money was even better. After all, it represented attributes, skills, equipment, and life. Now that the super difficult mission was in front of him, Ryuto needed to plan carefully to see how he should spend the 90 million. 90 million yuan might seem like a lot, but it wasn't that much to be said. After all, it would cost a huge sum of 50 million just to upgrade Dragon's Battle's attributes. Not long ago, after being killed by Kaiser, the items and skill books in the shop were all refreshed. Ryuto also found that the price of the same type of skill books in the shop had increased by several times. For example, the Ironbone Mastery previously only cost 1 million, but this time the second skill book had become 2 million, and the Parkour Master went from 3 million to 6 million, a full double. If he continued to buy, the third, fourth, and fifth skill books of the same type would become more and more expensive, and the amount of money needed to increase the proficiency level would also increase. Of course, compared to the skill books, Ryuto now needed to increase his attributes first, and now it was the most practical physique attribute. Chapter 131. Among the 5 attributes of intelligence, physique, courage, insight, and charm, the attribute that could be improved the most was naturally the physique attribute. Enhancing physique could directly increase speed, strength, endurance, resistance, flexibility, and other aspects of strength. Anything related to the body's attributes would have an obvious increase. When Ryuto first transmigrated to this world, he increased his physique from LV2 physique, excellent passerby, to LV3 physique, professional expert. Later on, it did indeed have a good effect. Therefore, before this big event of infiltration, kidnapping, fighting, and escaping began, Ryuto needed to increase his physique by another level. From LV3 physique to LV4 physique requires 50 million yuan. Confirm payment? After clicking on the plus symbol under physique, for a long time, the familiar system voice sounded again. Thinking about it carefully, 50 million yuan, to increase an attribute from professional expert to international warrior, was actually quite a good deal. It could even be said to be quite cheap. After all, as long as one practiced hard, most ordinary people could reach the physical fitness of professional expert. It was just a matter of whether one was willing to put in so much effort. But to go further to international warrior, it was no longer a realm that could be reached by hard work. One must have both hard work and talent, otherwise there was no way. Just like in the professional boxing world, it was not difficult to cultivate an ordinary professional boxer with professional training, but a boxing champion could not be trained by professional training. It had to be a genius of 1 in 100. At this time, Ryuto had this opportunity to surpass talent and hard work. The price he paid was only 50 million yuan, which was a negligible price. He had to say that the system was really shameless. As the dragon had pressed the confirm payment button, a light flashed, and the bag of banknotes that had just been taken out from the safe suddenly disappeared like magic. But after that, Ryudo felt that his body suddenly changed, as if there was a qualitative leap from the inside to the outside. This feeling was different from the simple increase of strength, or the feeling of making the body lighter. In an instant, he only felt that the control of his body was completely different from before. There was a feeling of his body moving at will, and hitting wherever he pointed. Is this the physical ability of LV4 physique? Let's try it out. Suddenly, Ryudo looked at the courtyard outside the window not far away. His whole body flashed forward, and in the next second, he had already jumped over the windowsill and arrived in the courtyard. In the courtyard, there was a tall and beautiful tree that had been planted for many years. It was at least 20 meters tall with luxuriant branches and leaves. Longdo, on the other hand, quickly ran toward the tree and then jumped up. After jumping a distance of 8 to 9 meters, he grabbed the nearly 4-meter-tall branch with one hand and flipped his body again, standing firmly on the branch. Then, his figure twisted and turned on the tree, jumping up rapidly, as if he was walking on flat ground. It only took him about 3 seconds to reach the top of the tree, which was more than 20 meters high. This series of dazzling movements, if seen from a third person's point of view, was simply like being possessed by Tarzan. It didn't even look like something a human could do. What was even more exaggerated was that when Ryudo reached the top of the tree, he actually floated to the side without hesitation. His figure fell more than 20 meters vertically in the dark night. When he landed, he spun a few times like a spinning top and stood firmly on the ground. His face was not red, he was not out of breath, and he did not have any adverse reactions. So that's how it is. This is a monster-level physical ability. After understanding how terrifying his current physical fitness was, Ryudo could not help but take a deep breath. Now, Ryudo finally realized that the LV4 physique, upgraded by the system, and the LV4 physique that normal people could achieve were actually of a different dimension. After all, the physique attribute was a very complicated concept, and it contained a lot of sub-attributes. For example, strength, speed, flexibility, jumping ability, explosiveness, endurance, flexibility, resistance, etc. If a professional athlete could reach the level of a world champion in the high jump, then he would have a LV4 physique, international warrior, rating in the system. But such a world champion would only reach the level of an international warrior in the jumping ability sub-attribute. He would not be able to reach the level of an expert in the other attributes. However, Longdo was different. He didn't reach the highest standard in one of his physical attributes. Instead, he reached the same standard in all of his physical attributes. This was equivalent to Ryudo having the destructive power of a boxing champion, the endurance of a marathon champion, the speed of a sprinting champion, the explosive power of a weightlifting champion, the jumping ability of a high jump champion, the flexibility of a gymnastics champion, etc. After combining so many extreme physical abilities, Ryudo's current physical ability could only be described as monstrous, because there should not be such an all-rounder in the world. The 50 million was well spent. Next, he would look at the item store and skill store to see if there were any good things to buy. After confirming that his physical ability had reached the level that could make James Bond cry, Ryudo returned to his room and opened the skill store to see if there were any items or skills that could be used at this time. Although he was rich enough to have 40 million left after buying one attribute, he could not spend all of it. He still had to save some money to buy jobs. Because it was difficult for Ryudo to have time to change to the Desperado title in the middle of a fierce battle, it was safer to calculate the cost of buying jobs as 1 million. Considering that this mission was dangerous, and that he might die many times, Ryudo estimated that he would have to save at least 10 million to save his life, which was enough for him to revive 10 times. Of course, in addition to that, he also had to save some cash to buy specific items in an emergency. Otherwise, if he spent all the money in advance, it would be awkward if he ran out of money to buy items in an emergency. So after spending more than an hour choosing, Ryudo decided to buy 1 active skill, 6 passive skills, and 2 items that would definitely be useful. The first active skill that he chose to buy was a highly lethal martial art called Ancient Eight Extremities Fist. Chapter 132. For the current Ryudo, although his physical fitness was strong enough, fighting with others didn't only depend on physical strength, but also the degree of mastery of martial arts. Before this, the only martial art that Ryudo had learned was the Furamaki-style martial arts. But this martial art was all about counterattacking, and there were no active attacks. Therefore, if there were no tables, chairs, or benches in the surroundings that could activate the hooligan does not die by bare hands skill, then Ryudo could only randomly fight, and use random punches to try and kill the old master. This kind of unstructured and flat style could be used to bully ordinary small fries. But if he really met an expert, it would be a bit troublesome, and he still had to learn a martial art that could be used. In fact, there were many similar martial arts in the skill store, such as mixed Yuan Xingyi Tai Chi, Pine Bone Bouncing Lightning Whip, Ma's Take Hair, and so on, but they didn't look very reliable. Therefore, Ryudo chose for a long time, and finally chose this ancient Bajikwan. Bajikwan, the name of the ancient boxing technique, Bajikwan, meant that the force could reach extremely far in all directions, and its movements were simple, firm and fierce and majestic. Simply put, this martial arts movements were not fancy, but were very practical, and it could defeat people in one hit. Moreover, the Bajikwan in Ryudo's hands wasn't the modern version passed down, but the complete version from the peak of ancient times, and its complexity and practicality couldn't be compared to the modern version. This kind of straightforward, firm and fierce martial art, combined with Ryudo's tyrannical physical fitness, could completely kill small fries one by one, and kill a group of them. In addition to this martial art skill that could be used actively, Ryudo also bought 3 new passive skills, namely Silent Movement, Aura Shield, and Omnipotent Driver. As the name implied, the effects of these 3 passive skills were very simple and crude. The first was to reduce the sound made when moving, and the second was to reduce the aura exposed. Since the mission this time might involve infiltration, these 2 skills were very suitable for infiltration. Naturally, they were necessities. The Omnipotent Driver, on the other hand, could automatically learn to drive all kinds of vehicles, from wheelbarrows, bicycles, motorcycles, cars, and even airplanes. As one's proficiency increased, one could even play many unexpected tricks. The reason why Ryudo bought this passive skill was because he considered the possibility that he might need to use a vehicle to escape with dunya. However, he didn't even know how to drive a car, so it was better to learn a driving skill to sharpen his gun. As for the last 3 passive skills he bought, they were the newly bought Iron Bone Mastery, Copper Skin Mastery, and Parkour Master. Due to the fact that he had purchased the skill book once before, the new skill book allowed the 3 passive skills of Dragon Battle to reach 40% proficiency. The effects were much stronger than before, but of course the price had also doubled. Copper Skin, Iron Bones, and Parkour were all versatile skills. They could be used in any situation, and they weren't expensive. Therefore, as long as these 3 skill books were refreshed in the shop, Ryudo didn't even need to think about it. He just bought them directly. They would definitely be useful. After buying 7 skill books in the skill shop, Ryudo's skill bar became a lot fuller. Of course, his wallet also became a lot thinner. The cost of these 7 skill books added up to $22 million. Including the $50 million he had spent previously, Ryudo's total assets were only a little more than $20 million. After thinking for a while, Ryudo finally bought 2 items. They were the Rogue Hang Glider and the Rogue First Aid Pill. The Rogue Hang Glider cost $3 million. When falling from a high place, it could glide. Simply put, it was the artifact that the monster thief kid often carried in the sky to show off. The Rogue First Aid Pill cost $5 million. It could treat most injuries. As long as one didn't die on the spot, eating it would save one's life. These 2 items were very expensive. Of course, their effects were very practical. They were good items that could be used in an emergency. After that, Ryudo didn't continue to buy items. After all, he only had $14 million left in his treasury, $10 million of which was reserved for living expenses. The remaining $4 million was used for emergency purchases. After spending almost all the money he had, Ryudo finally let out a sigh of relief. He took the time to lie down and rest for a while. At this time, the night was coming to an end. There was even a light in the distant horizon, indicating that the morning of the second day was coming. After resting for a few hours, Ryudo was woken up by advisor Fujiki, who rushed over. "This is the equipment you wanted. I've done my best to find it." Advisor Fujiki looked like he hadn't slept the whole night. There were large dark circles around his eyes. However, he still forced himself to put the backpack he was carrying in front of the young master. Inside the backpack was the special equipment that Ryudo had asked him to prepare for him in the early hours of the morning. Almost all of them were professional goods that ordinary people wouldn't normally see. Among them was a special brass knuckle that looked like a ring on one's finger. When turned, it could pop out a broken window. When wearing this thing, ordinary people could break high-strength glass with one punch. With Ryudo's strength, even bulletproof glass might not be able to withstand it. In addition to the special brass knuckle, Fujiki also gave him an Uzi submachine gun that could be used with one hand, a thin carbon fiber bulletproof vest, a set of hooks with ropes to help with climbing, a small tube of mixed knockout powder, and 3 flash bombs. It had to be said that advisor Fujiki's years in this industry weren't for nothing. These overly professional items might not even be able to be bought with money. They also required a strong network of connections. For Ryudo, these special equipment would undoubtedly be of great help to him. In tonight's operation, Ryudo could directly wear most of the equipment on his body. For example, the special brass knuckle, the bulletproof vest, the small tube of knockout powder, and he could directly put them in his pocket. As for the conspicuous Uzi submachine gun, the flash bombs, and the large hooks with ropes, they could be thrown into the equipment slot and could be used at any time. At this time, Ryudo's preparation work was completed. He was ready to sneak into the Tokyo Emperor Hotel at any time. First, it was the attributes, then the skills, then the items, and finally the equipment. After this solid preparation, Ryudo could be said to be armed to the teeth. When Ryudo finally left the Rulong Group headquarters and rushed towards the Rulong Security Company, his character attributes had become like this: name, Ryudo Kiryouichi, 16 attributes, Wisdom LV2, Constitution LV4, Courage LV3, Insight LV2, Charm LV3. Title: Beginner Assassin, obtained after 100 successful sneak attacks. Presence reduced by 20% when equipped. Equipment: Uzi submachine gun, rare, flash bombs, rare, hooks with ropes, excellent. Accompanying equipment: carbon fiber bulletproof vest, special brass knuckle, mixed knockout powder tools, rogue velcro, rogue analytical lens, rogue voice changing mask, rogue hang glider, rogue first aid pill skills, ancient 8 extremities fist, Furamaki style martial arts, iron bone mastery, copper skin mastery, parkour master, rogue immortality to bare hands, silent movement, aura shielding technique, omnipotent driver. Total assets: $15. 417,800. There was only one word to describe his current attributes: ferocious. It could be said that in Ryudo's life, this was the first time he was so ferocious. He even felt that he was so ferocious that he could directly kill Tenmu Ayam in the unrestrained Sky Tower. Of course, that was temporarily impossible, but completing this mission should not be a problem. Chapter 133. When Ryudo arrived at the Rulong Security Company, it was already close to noon. The entire floor that was originally bustling was particularly deserted today, as if the entire security company had gone out to perform a mission. For ordinary security companies, going out to perform tasks was a normal thing. But this group of members did not go out to perform ordinary tasks today. Instead, they collectively dug a tunnel. After searching and sorting through the night this morning, Sensible finally obtained the internal map and guard layout of the entire nesting duck prison through various means. In this case, Gao Yuan quickly led the team quietly to a sewer near the nesting duck prison, intending to dig a tunnel into the prison from the sewer. Although there were a lot of professional digging tools, according to Gao Yuan's estimation, It would take about 20 hours to dig this tunnel. And now, there were only about 8 hours left before the Saito Club anniversary celebration. In other words, Ryuto had to delay at least 12 hours after kidnapping Dunya to delay the completion of the tunnel, and he had to spare some time to take Ichiro away. 12 hours, huh? That sounds like a lot of work. Why don't we give Dunya a heads up first? Soon after, Ryuto sat in the director's office of the Rulong Security Company, discussing the specific details of today's plan with Yunyen through video chat. The latter asked worriedly. Yunyen had always felt very conflicted about the fact that the two were about to set off to kidnap Dunya. After all, Dunya was her friend. We still can't judge what Dunya's attitude will be. If she can't help but leak a word to others, then everything will be over. After hearing Yunyen's words, Ryuto shook his head seriously. Although Dunya was one of the members of his harem, unlike Colored Glaze and Yunyen, Ryuto had not yet gained Dunya's trust. If he rashly went to Dunya and told her that he was going to kidnap her tonight, Dunya would definitely react in an unpredictable manner. If things went badly, he would be courting death. Therefore, although he felt sorry for the young lady, Ryuto decided to use the mixture of drugs obtained from consultant Fujiki to make her faint. For Dunya, she didn't need to do anything tonight. In short, she just needed to have a good night's sleep. When she woke up the next day, everything should be over. This was obviously the best result for everyone. After deciding how to treat Dunya, Ryuto discussed the specific details of sneaking into the venue with Yunyen. From the information obtained now, it was quite difficult to sneak into the Tokyo Regal Hotel. After all, a large number of dignitaries would gather in the entire hotel tonight. The surrounding security strength could be said to be unprecedentedly high. Even an ant would find it difficult to sneak in. First of all the other passageways of the hotel were completely blocked. Only the front door was left for guests to use. The hotel staff had been on standby inside the hotel 5 days ago. They were not allowed to contact the outside world at all. At the same time, there were hundreds of cameras, helicopters, and drones around the hotel from all angles without any blind spots to observe the situation outside. Whether it was climbing over the wall, airdropping, or digging a hole, it was impossible to sneak in without being discovered. Therefore, from a certain point of view, the only way to enter the hotel that night was through the front door. To enter from the front door, the first thing that must be shown was a special invitation letter. There was an electronic chip that couldn't be forged in a short period of time. In addition to the guards at the front door, a perfect face recognition system and metal detector were also installed. Not to mention the densely packed surveillance inside the hotel. Not to mention the thousands of elite bodyguards and the martial artist bodyguards of the Saito Club. Just the process of entering the door was enough to give people a headache. When they discussed this, Ryuto asked, "If I disguise myself as Union's bodyguard, can I sneak in with you?" "I don't think so, because the invitation letter states that only the holder is allowed to enter. Even the bodyguards have to wait outside." I can't snatch other people's invitations. I can't pass the face recognition test. It's too late to make a mask. Headache." Suddenly, Ryuto couldn't help but shake his head. He seemed to be thinking hard about a way to sneak in. As if she couldn't bear to see Long Do having a headache, Yunyen carefully said, Actually, I have a way to help you sneak in, but it's a bit strange." When he heard Yunyen's words, Ryuto immediately raised his head and asked in a joyful tone, "What is the way? As long as I can get in, the rest doesn't matter. Actually, I have a set of Rococo-style vintage palace dress. Although I didn't plan to wear it tonight, I should be able to bring you in with that dress." When talking about this, Yunyen's face blushed. She seemed to be a little embarrassed about what she was going to say next. Ryuto was confused when he heard the words. He asked in confusion, "Palace dress? How can you bring me in with that thing?" "That kind of palace dress is very big and wide. There is a huge skirt support inside that can stretch the skirt to more than 1 meter in width. It is quite gorgeous, like a huge flower." "Hey, could it be?" Seeing that Ryuto seemed to think of how to use this dress to sneak into the venue, Yunyen also explained shyly, "At that time, you can try to hide in my dress. As long as you don't walk fast, you shouldn't be discovered. What? Hide in Yunyan's dress. Pft. In an instant, Ryudo thought of the shocking scene in his mind, and he almost spurted blood on the computer screen. Senior sister Yunyan's height was considered to be quite tall among females. If she wore a huge dress, it was indeed possible to hide a person under the dress. However, if it was hidden under her skirt, it meant that Long Do would have extremely intimate physical contact with Yunyan, and it would not be ordinary physical contact. When he thought of Yunyan's straight, slender and well-proportioned legs, and the dreamy cloth that might float around his head, Ryudo had a feeling of blood surging up. But now is not the time to think about these messy things. Ryudo swallowed a mouthful of saliva and quickly said, No, this is too unfair to you. You will definitely feel very uncomfortable. I will definitely feel a little uncomfortable, but compared to this, it is more important to help you enter the venue. Even if she is very shy, Yunyan still said firmly. After all, in her view, this small matter is not worth mentioning compared to the overall situation. Yunyan, you are really a perfect girlfriend, as long as you don't cook. In this way, under Yunyan's insistence, Ryudo had to agree to this plan. How to say, although hiding in Yunyan's dress is not manly, it is a disguised humiliation. But now Ryudo really does not care about manliness. It is more important to smoothly enter the hotel. Thus, Long Do was definitely not trying to sneak under senior sister Yunyan's skirt to find out what was going on. Definitely not, probably not. When making the final preparations in the afternoon, the dragon had repeatedly reminded himself like this, although he may not even believe it himself. But in any case, as time passed by, this Saito anniversary celebration, that is bound to cause a big commotion, finally slowly began. Ryudo's Mission Impossible mission will also begin tonight. Chapter 134. The large width of the skirt in the head, that in and out of the carriage ready to meet one. When the sedan entered to help her, she was already fighting the dragon. In front of the carriage, Yin Yun was in reality. The fighting dragon of the bag head is fighting the dragon is. As soon as his head was out of the bag, he suddenly noticed that the carriage behind him was about to open a shop. The king of wine, Emperor Jingdong, was about to meet the moon in the courtyard. The sedan was about to pass. After a good rest, Big Sister Nung defecated in the small room. She placed the quilt and the seat behind the table, and at the same time, the partition layer fell down. The seat behind the seat, and in front of the seat was steamed. She pressed the button and pressed the trigger. Sister is big good. The next breath, don't think I started to open the ceremony in front, Uncle Chuanpin. Order the machine driver and bodyguard in front of the sedan Yin Yun. When the carriage sat on the seat, she was waiting for the arrival of the carriage at the entrance of the parking gate. She went out of the palace to wait for the attendants home. She slowly followed behind Yin Yun. Her heels were high. Her white Athens shoes were worn on the top. She wore them on the bottom. Come out to invite the general talent is not also this. The high bundling of the general is a second. Wear only clothes. This Yin Yun is the reason. The troublesome little thing is also wearing the words. But the woman is less than look at. Although the upper body is wearing clothes bright. This pass not only point to the extreme beauty of the straight and simple hair, show soft fluffy clouds like still, over the care of the heart that the match. The 10 senses of the body stand up to see. Make the skirt lining rise and edge leaf lotus fold. Beautiful like a flower blooming like still swaying. The skirt big and big fluttering lightly go up to look at the square below. What's too much is too much. But it's also too beautiful. It's very useful to set off each other's floral prints, buckles, satin and edged silk. It's very beautiful inlaid and combined. It's made of 3 inverted shapes and angles. Silk is used to cover the front of the bosom. Satin is white and blue. It's used to sew the bottom of a skirt. The top boundary of the quasi-water level is expected to use in plan. The Penhan family name is more to accept the gift of this dress sister learning Yin Yin. Gorgeous and complicated, noble and magnificent, colorful and splendid, are also planned to adorn clothes. The weave of the wind is intercourse, love and extravagance. pleasure and enjoyment when the reflection is reflected. The national law of Gufeng art type 1 was born at the beginning of the epoch of the 80th century is Feng Keluo. The coming and going of Tian Chen Fan, the painting of oil classics from ancient times, is as stunning as ever. The beauty of the back skirt ceremony, the style of the palace, the style of Coco Lo, is magnificent and magnificent. Wearing it on top, and pretending to be an expert in the art of the passage, the brightness and fluttering is appropriate to each other, comes from the original Yin Yin. Just for the sake of envying her, she couldn't bear to be styled as a teacher. She would be responsible for the styling. Later on, her face and makeup would be suitable for the painting and painting. She would be properly dressed and dressed like a big sister or a little girl. You're a fan of Guzi Gong. You're very good at fixing things. You're so beautiful, but you're so young and beautiful. Ready to go out of the door to do a good job. Also see the moon in the wild goose clouds. In the see the moon in the courtyard district people rich piece of a different position. At the same time at the battlefield, to receive the ready members of the staff, to work on the side of this wine shop of the imperial Jingdong. The sharpness of the teacher's essence of righteousness, and righteousness, is indeed visible. The vigilance of the fourth prince's gaze is also the same, falling nimbly on the feet. The order has, but the well has come to do the work, not saying a word, the expression on the face of the person has. The position of the post has come to return from the work of the various members of the staff, to work on the wine shop of the imperial Jingdong. The order has been given who can enter. The opportunity can be taken advantage of by one enemy to Su Yun, not against absolute. Attention is focused on absolute protection. Attention is concentrated in the middle. Beginning to want to go to the small one to celebrate. Go to the position of the post to work from each return. Very good. The battle of the soldiers was about to start, and the group was the same as before. The heat of the breath was released and the body was muddled. The bone spurs of the killing intent appeared, and the voice of the middle-aged man was about to fall. The voice of the voice was about to fall. Kill, 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 drink. Peeing in his pants and fart to frighten the people of the imperial Jingdong, Tung Zai to listen to the younger generation he let. The strongest in the manual group martial arts competition, was at the top of the world. This pair of dared to regret their decision, he let them go. Bones of backbone break him. Cowardly dogs, he will crush this opportunity to return it to us. Can it not be but? Dahui and Dahui spoke in unison. Just as the members of the Dahui were about to start their work, they suddenly paused. Can you? This Su Yuning us, bad Su Yuning us, bad Su Yuning us, bad Su Yuning Dianqing Si. This pair is extremely useful. Not without a plan to try. In the midst of being stupid, we secretly think that we can recognize ourselves as him. Opportunistic times are difficult to come by. One is to speak of the generation's small group of people. Dianqing see this pair. Claws danced and teeth bared, crawling out like a claw, as if Judas had fallen into a corner. Each from the association is the total. The clean work is very difficult to sort out the small rascals hiding in the dark, but there are only a few. The number of the enemy is not enough to eliminate. The number of the enemy is not enough to provoke us. I came to establish the Guan Association at the age of 300 years old. Tungzai is here. The beginning of the battle is the beginning of the battle. The Tao is replenishing and continuing, and the answer is enough. Look under the face of the person who is able to point out whether or not it is obvious. Ask him the question. The comparison is clear and fresh. The shape of the short body of the five, and the strength of the thick voice of the mute sand belt slightly. The person in the middle ear has entered the transmission ground clear. But the sound of the voice enters. But the sound of the instrument amplifies the similar wind of the kumai he uses the person who has not ran. What is the taste of this Tao? Zhou Baisan established the Guan Association at the age of 300 years old. Tungzai is here to celebrate the evening of Dianqing Si. He opened his mouth and slowly closed it. He glanced at a member of the security team, who was standing on the stage, and swept his gaze over the security chief, Dianqing Nian Chou Tungzai, who was standing on the stage. Because of the original reason, fear, respect, and strength, He is absolutely talented in the number of people, cold and ruthless in the hands of the Dao into Tungzai. The luck of the world is not as good as the strength of the real strength. He cannot compare. This place's Fan Sherbu has always arrived to the point. The Guan Association at the Cloud Green School will be in step by step, the fear and determination of the Dao into Tungzai. The martial arts are not suitable for it. It is said that the reason is according to the shape of the body. The dwarf has to be more than a child. There is only one of 4 meters tall, behind the adult. The illness of the dwarf, the illness of the disease will give birth to the family Tungzai of the straight line. The Dao into Tungzai's child demon is called a person. Fan Sherbu's Guan Association Tungzai is the position of this person on the stage to give a speech in the station. The loyalty certificate of the sun divided loyalty to the death is enough to be able to absolutely choose, carefully select the elite of the various countries, to follow and return some people. The People's Guan Association Tungzai has been replaced by the members of the staff working in the branch of the large Wine King Emperor Jingdong, between this and this. The number of scholars who specialize in the absolute category of masters and cooks is extremely small. The sharp elite come out of the selection of the Guan Association Tungzai of the various countries to follow. The members of the staff come to the wine room of this shop. This is not, and also we on the actual fact. The imposing manner of the martial arts of the special people is there. There is only a single person standing in the room. The sturdy body, the sharp divine eyes are all a few of them. The members of the staff who do not work together with the entire staff of the department, such as the cleaners, the leaders, the staff guests, the staff service, and the staff leader, are all gathered in this and go to see the fine people. In front of Xiang Wangguang Wei Jingman, who was a member of the Duqing staff, who had 100 names, he went up on stage to speak to a short man in a western suit, who was dressed in black. The person who suffers from the illness of the Confucian scholar is like many of the short people want to be compared to the limbs of the 4 people, the face of the iron face half blocked to take him. The short people of the men look up from 10 to 1, the construction of the stage to give a speech in the hall in the big station. When the march and the main members of the movement of the face of the unfamiliar opening field, the hall in the building of the Wine King Emperor Jingdong, in the heart of the bustling Huafan Jingdong. Right left. 5 The sky under noon. Chapter 135. Well done, Yunyan. After peeking his head out, Ryudo gave a thumbs up to Yunyan, but he still didn't dare to breathe loudly. Yunyan's personal bodyguard, Uncle Shinagawa, was also an expert in this field. It was impossible to hide from him by hiding in the back seat of the car. But fortunately, Ryudo now had the passive skill, aura concealment technique, which could reduce his aura to the lowest level. If he didn't speak or move, even a professional bodyguard would have a hard time discovering his existence. In this way, Uncle Shinagawa drove in the front, while Yunyan and Ryudo communicated with each other through the phone. In order to ease the tension of the upcoming mission, the two chatted as much as possible in their normal state, and talked about some very daily content. Yunyan, you're dressed so beautifully today. #carrot. Carrot hashtag, don't say that, I'll be shy. When we arrive at the venue, there must be a lot of rich young masters coming to talk to you. Basically, every time I participate in this kind of occasion, it's annoying just thinking about it, like a swarm of flies. Doesn't this prove that Yunyan, your charm is unparalleled in the world? If possible, I don't want such unparalleled charm. I just want the person I like to keep looking at me. Asterisk. Sob. Yunyan is so cute, you're my angel. After seeing the reply in the phone, Ryudo was almost moved to tears. But at this moment, Ryudo turned his head and saw Yunyan's feet in white high heels. The loose dress she was wearing was straight on the ground, so her shoes and feet couldn't be seen. But because Yunyan sat down and lifted her dress a little, the part that was not exposed to the outside was in front of Ryudo's eyes. Her moderately sized lotus feet were very delicate, and the shape of her ankles and insteps were extremely beautiful. Coupled with the white stockings and high heels, they looked like they were made by heaven. making people want to hold them in their hands and carefully play with them. Gulp. Although Ryudo didn't have any foot fetishes, he couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva when he saw this pair of beautiful feet. Ryudo couldn't help but blush when he thought about how he would have to crawl into that huge skirt and move together with the pair of slender legs wrapped in long stockings. His hands that were originally typing also stopped. Yunyan didn't think too much about this situation. She thought that Ryudo was concentrating on adjusting his condition, but she didn't expect that this guy was actually in heat with her feet. Not long after, as the car continued to move forward, it had also arrived near the parking lot of the Tokyo Emperor Hotel. But before the car stopped, there were already many eyes staring at them. The black-clothed bodyguard standing outside the hotel watched the car while speaking into the walkie-talkie. "This is Team B. The representative vehicle of Tsukumi Enterprise has come from the south. Get ready to welcome them." A small drone flying next to the car quickly came to the side of the car and scanned the people inside from front to back before hurriedly flying away. Wow, what a strict security level. Before arriving at the entrance of the hotel, Yunyan had already felt the almost suffocating atmosphere. With the Tokyo Emperor Hotel as the core, the surrounding hundreds of meters were almost set up as a restricted area, and it was really difficult for an ant to sneak in. Da-da. However, just before the car slowed down, Yunyan gently knocked on the seat twice, and at the same time, she used her hands to lift her skirt up as much as possible. "It's finally here. Let's go." When Yunyan lifted the skirt, Ryudo also cooperated very well and got into her skirt. At the same time, the car stopped at the spacious parking lot at the entrance, and 7 or 8 bodyguards immediately surrounded it and began to check the car from all angles for abnormalities. "Miss, please be careful." After opening the door for Miss, Uncle Shinagawa reached out to help Yunyan walk down slowly and stepped on the red carpet that was laid out almost a kilometer outside. "I'm fine." After Yunyan nodded, she walked toward the main entrance not far away under the protection of the bodyguards, and Shinagawa was taken to another venue because she was wearing a beautiful and cumbersome dress, and there was a person hiding in the dress. Yunyan walked very slowly and looked particularly elegant. From the perspective of an outsider, because the dress was completely on the ground, it was completely impossible to see that someone was hiding inside. And Ryudo, who was hiding inside, also moved forward with Yunyan's steps in a strange posture. Although the space in the dress was not small, it was definitely not big enough for people to move around casually. In this case, Ryudo could only squat slightly and tiptoe forward slowly, for fear of being slower or faster. With Ryudo's current physical ability, it was not difficult for him to move with Yunyan. What really made him feel extremely tormented was the top scenic spot inside the dress. The inside of this dress was a private boudoir garden. Now Ryudo didn't even need to look around. He could see the pair of slender legs swaying left and right in front of his eyes. Because she was wearing white stockings, when Ryudo occasionally touched the leg, he could feel a smooth, cold, and soft touch. How to describe that feeling? It was a different flavor compared to direct contact with the skin. The girl's slender and well-proportioned legs exuded the vitality of youth, like a beacon to the sea of stars. Coupled with the stockings, it gave people a feeling of seduction. In particular, senior sister Yin Yan's white stockings only reached the base of her thighs. The edge of the stockings had slightly sunk into the soft, white, and soft flesh of her thighs. This kind of strangle mark could be said to be a killer for thigh lovers. Of course, in this top scenic spot, other than the thighs, calves, lotus feet, stockings, and high heels, there was also a seemingly expensive white silk fattoo and a mysterious inverted triangle area. Yunyan's fattoo was undoubtedly expensive, although he didn't know what brand it was. From the angle of the fattoo's graceful triangle area and the curve of the edges, it indeed showed the designer's extraordinary concept and pursuit. Apui, what am I thinking, bastard? As he walked, Ryudo started staring at Yunyan's fattoo. His face almost stuck to the smooth and soft stockings. Is this the time to do this? How can I? Beep beep. Beep beep. Beep beep. Just as Ryudo shook his head, trying to force himself to wake up from the temptation of this top scenic spot. A strange sound suddenly came from outside, and Yunyan's footsteps also stopped. "Miss, please wait a moment. Something on you is making a sound." At this time, Yunyan was passing through the checkpoint at the gate, and after hearing the sound, the two bodyguards immediately ran over. Chapter 136. Sure enough, it's here. This thing still can't be hidden. Just after Yunyan entered the door and caused the metal detector next to her to sound, Yunyan and Ryudo frowned at the same time. There were various detection devices installed at the entrance of the hotel, such as X-ray detectors, infrared scanners, and so on. However, Yunyan had asked someone to sew a circle of reflective fabric on the inside of her skirt in advance. From the results of the scan, it was impossible to see that there was a person hiding inside. Most of the props that could cause the metal detector alarm, Ryudo had also put them in the equipment bar in advance. All the things he carried were non-metal products. However, there was a small exception, and that was the ring-shaped window breaker worn on his finger. This small window breaker looked like a ring on the surface, but as long as it was twisted, a broken window tip could pop out. It could also be used as a brass knuckle in a fight. It was a very useful small prop. Ryudo still couldn't bear to let go of this prop after thinking about it, so he gave it to Yunyan and let her wear it on her finger. After all, Yunyan was a girl. It was normal for her to wear a ring on her finger. The bodyguards at the door shouldn't make a fuss. So when the bodyguards came over to check, Yunyan stretched out her hand with the ring and asked with a smile, "It should be caused by this ring, right? Can't I bring this in?" LV5 charm. Activate. Just when Yunyan smiled, the two young bodyguards who came over to check seemed to have been hammered in the chest by a sledgehammer 80 times. Their whole state changed. They straightened their backs and bowed to Yunyan with a solemn expression. Then they said apologetically, "Since it's a ring worn by the eldest miss, there's naturally no problem. Please come in." If it was an ordinary guest, these two bodyguards would definitely go over and check what was on the ring. Maybe they would even find a special mechanism inside. But the problem was that the person wearing this thing was Yunyan from the Moon Garden. She was a top-notch witch with demonic charm. Now that Yunyan was wearing this classic dress, her charm had been brought out to the extreme, so much so that the bodyguards around her were secretly staring at her. Of course, even if everyone was staring at Yunyan, they didn't dare to have a trace of wretchedness in their eyes. They all had a solemn expression, as if they were looking at the goddess. It felt like if Yunyan raised her arm now, they would immediately turn their heads and follow Yunyan to beat up the original employer. The charm of the extreme Superman level was so terrifying. Just like that, under the watchful eyes of the bodyguards, Yunyan gracefully walked into the venue with small steps and passed the first hurdle unscathed. However, if this group of bodyguards who treated Yunyan as a goddess knew that there was a man hiding under the skirt of the goddess, these guys might line up to jump off a building on the spot. After entering the door, what appeared in front of Yunyan was a magnificently decorated lobby. An elegant female guide immediately walked over and led Yunyan to the banquet hall inside the hotel. Phew, I finally broke through the first line of defense. The next step is to release Ryudo. So Yunyan walked and suddenly said to the guide, "Sorry, I want to go to the bathroom." "Ah, the bathroom is here, I'll take you there." Hearing Yunyan's words, the guide immediately led Yunyan to an inconspicuous corridor. After a few turns, they came to a clean and elegant toilet. "Miss, do you need any help?" "There's no need for that. Just wait outside." After refusing the guide's offer to help, Yunyan came to the innermost cubicle of the toilet and locked the door. Only then did she finally breathe a sigh of relief. "Thank you for your hard work, Yunyan." Suddenly, Ryudo also got out from under Yunyan's skirt awkwardly and showed her an apologetic expression. Although Ryudo took a lot of advantage during the movement just now, for Yunyan, her situation was still quite awkward. Now although the two were in a relationship, they didn't even hold hands, let alone other intimate contact. So Yunyan's embarrassment could be imagined. But even so, Yunyan still said seriously, Now is not the time to talk about this. In short, the direction of the top floor is not so easy to go. You have to be more careful. But I still have 1 hour and 50 minutes here. There is quite a lot of time. Ryuto looked at the cheap plastic watch on his wrist. The time on the watch was 6:10. According to the schedule of this Saitu Clubhouse anniversary celebration, 6 to 7 o'clock was the welcome and chat time. Dinner began at 7:15 in the banquet hall, on the 20th floor. At 8 o'clock, as the host of the Saitu Clubhouse, the president of the headquarters, Saitu Takahiro, would come on stage to give a speech on behalf of the Saitu family. After that, it was time for the martial artists of the clubhouse to perform. Finally, it was the curtain call for the Saitu family to celebrate the 300th anniversary. How should he put it? Today's celebration seemed ancient and boring, but most of the people who came to this celebration weren't here for fun. Of course, whether this celebration was interesting or not had nothing to do with Ryuto, because he didn't intend to join it at all. His goal from the beginning to the end was only Saitu Dunya. According to the first-hand information that Yunyan inquired from Dunya today, Dunya would not attend the dinner tonight. She would only show her face in the final collective appearance. The purpose of this was to better protect Dunya. But in fact, it was because the other members of the Saitu family didn't want her to appear too much in public. After all, Dunya was a complete heresy for most of the members of the Saitu family. In the eyes of many people, such a silver-haired Russian girl was simply unworthy of representing the oldest martial arts family in Tokyo. If it weren't for the fact that Dunya's father, Wu Hong, was the appointed head of the family in the previous generation, and his own strength was excellent, they would have already kicked Dunya out of the family. Therefore, the people of the Saitu family didn't like Dunya, and Dunya didn't like them even more. This also led her to prefer to stay in the small garden on the top of the 50th floor to pass the time, rather than accompany her family to receive guests. Ryuto was naturally clear about the grievances between Dunya and the Saitu clubhouse. It was just that he didn't think that such grievances would create an excellent opportunity for his kidnapping plan. The best time to take Dunya away was around 8 o'clock. Most people's attention was focused on the president's speech. Ryuto needed to come to the 50th floor before that. "I'm ready, let's go." "Yes, this way please." Soon after, Yunyan left the toilet alone and walked toward the banquet hall under the guidance of the guide. Long Do, on the other hand, put on a waiter's hat, tidied up the waiter's uniform, and sneaked out of the bathroom. He planned to follow the route he had planned to take to the elevator shaft. When he kills Polly, he poisons Polly to give his mother his Polly. Is this even more true? When the mother's mother-in-law's house is at home, the guests are waiting to receive them? Once the words are out of order, the guests are already waiting for the entrance to pull the main road to the east, and the criminals are tied up one by one in a grand hall. Just as he was about to vomit, he realized that he was fighting a dragon. As he walked through the door, he saw that the entrance to the hall was not far away. To the dark and gloomy appearance of the trough, the center is on one side, walking along one side a dragon. It's true, isn't it? Isn't it true that love dramas come and go? It's said that there are 3 consecutive failures in the small streets. What a coincidence. Once we get the chance, we'll look for him again and wait for him to hire a guest. We'll help him to the best of our ability. What can we do? The guests are waiting to be recruited. He followed to return them. When he arrived at the main road to the east, he was immediately out of the Congo knot. He came to the well ladder to climb to the front. The criminals are tied up, he came to hide. When he was unlucky, he felt that he didn't want to laugh or cry. When he walked through the entrance to the imperial court, he followed Hongwu. Isn't it bad luck? Why do I care about the guests' families, you? The guests are waiting to be recruited. Bai Ming, if you are happy, why don't you let me wake you up and remember? She is waiting to be called out. I will follow and find you. Once you are called out, I will follow you. Once you are called out, I will follow you. Once you are called out, you will find me. Once you are called out, you will find me. You didn't answer the question. You called to go to him. Even if you look like a person, You have to grow up. You're quite smart. You look small. Hun. Tell me what to ask, the great elder will. Daowin lowered his head at the same time. When Hongwu Tingzai arrived, he hurriedly fought a dragon. When he came to the entrance, he ran away. He welcomed the banquet in the side of the hall. He should not have Hongwu's main road to the east. What do you want me to call him back? Why did the president Tung Sai appear in this story? What's going on? The biological father gave birth to the biological mother, Yanadong. Also at the same time, Hongwu Tingzai would be the head of the imperial court. Because of this, the head of the imperial court was shocked. He let Jingzhen, because of the original shock to the feeling of fighting a dragon, let it not be this. However, the situation was urgent. There was a man in the prime of his life who wore a face. The man in the prime of his life was full of vigor and vigor. His clothes and style were worn in the ancient style. His face was square, and the big horse was tall. In front of him, he appeared to be the reason. He was stunned. When he fought a dragon, he turned around at the same time. He went to the side of the imperial court. His head nodded respectfully. The pair of men turned around and stood still. After that, he sighed in relief. The imperial court of the imperial court should have responded to him. He should not have responded to the imperial court. The imperial court called the imperial court's Tingzai. Is it like this? Gate of life. Come and go. The gate of life is in front of the imperial court. Hey, the imperial court called the imperial court, but the man came and went in a hurry. The matter of the imperial court was not as simple as putting on an act. He came and went to the imperial court to suppress the blood of the imperial court. When the sound of footsteps was urgent, he heard this. He was killed by the law. How could he only do that? Well, the imperial court was quick. Was this me? Come and dare this imperial court, Xingzhen? What's going on? The sound of footsteps was urgent. Suddenly, he came from behind, waiting for the front of the district hall to arrive. Then the fighting dragon was on the spot. Then suddenly, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Some of the members of the Central Perimeter Pavilion have come to meet Tingzai, and when they have finished, the wind will lead the way, and they will straighten their posture. Men's martial arts practice is good, just in time to fight a dragon. Chang Zhengtai, well, young and handsome in his official uniform, standing tall and straight. But when he finished, he was full of doubts and doubts about whether he was around the officials working and the guests coming and going. Walking along the corridor, walking on the floor, his chest puffed out, his head held high and his head held high. Qi Lingling of the heaven bestowing Qi Lingling has done very well for me to see. Come on. He does not recognize the eyes. One person is enough to accept. The hat and the staff uniform are put on the head to match, but it is clear that they do not count very much and come to talk about changes. The transformation of the slightly more subtle entanglement is carved into the appearance of the fighting dragon queen. The back of the magic demon is a little more stuck to the face. The mirror of the magic demon is used for the magic demon. Other districts have settled down, with the past and the past. He is now like this. When the time comes, the toilet opens, when the dragon fights. Tian Chongfei came to pick up the straight well ladder electricity through the region's concentration of strength to guard the front of the circle. The hall's weak and thin is compared to the strength to guard the back of the calculation. So the toilet woman opens and leaves the fighting dragon queen after the next pickup slightly. The palm and finger are like this. Early on the formation of the earth, the map is detailed. Wine King Di Dong King. When he arrived, the wisdom from the past has been him before this. Lu Shiwu climbed up the straight path to the well and went to the side of the ladder to compare to the secluded area of the electric ladder. Compared to the one in the Middle Ages, the one who calculated and fought the dragon was also the electric ladder of the well. Tai 5 only has a total of one ladder electricity to use enough power. The use of the ladder electricity has been stopped by the past. The number of ladder electricity is extremely large. The consideration of the surface of the test is safe to go out. There are a lot of electric wells and ladders, and there are a lot of them. The high-grade wine shops are like Wine King Di Jingdong. There are electric wells and ladders, and there are also electric wells and ladders. The electric wells and ladders are installed with electric wells and ladders. The well ladder electricity is the most simple. The top floor 15 enters the secret hall building from the beginning, when the case begins to open the most fighting dragon queen. Chapter 138. Of course, this didn't mean that Ruehui was only that scary in Wu Hong's heart. In fact, for most people in Tokyo's upper class, the main goddess of Kamiyoshi, Dai Ruehui, was a very scary woman. The Kamiyoshi clan was a famous clan in Tokyo. They had a lot of influence in the parliament, the cabinet, and the courts. Some people even called them the Shadow Kingdom. However, 10 years ago, the Kamiyoshi clan wasn't as powerful as they were today. Although this clan relied on the convenience of the House King to make a name for themselves in the political circle, they were nothing more than a front for the royal family. It wasn't until 16 years ago, when the previous vegetarian king Rui Kanzaki stepped down from her position as the head of the Kanzaki family, that the Kanzaki family began to develop by leaps and bounds. Using the clan's convenience to rake in money in various fields, and then using the clan's wealth and reputation to rope in and support politicians and bureaucrats, they built a network of connections with Tokyo as the core. In just over a decade, the Kanzai family's newly increased wealth and fame was enough to match the sum of the previous several hundred years. All of this was because of a woman named Kaneshiro Ruehui. From this point of view, the head of Kamiyoshi could be said to be one of the most powerful women in the world. Why was she one of the most powerful? Because there was a cheater called Tenmu Ayam in this world. However, according to Ryudo's knowledge, in the game Red Album 2, No Survivors, the only person Ayam feared was her. The reason why the Tenmu group and the Kamiyoshi clan were mortal enemies was mostly because of these two women. Ruehui was a monster that could fight equally with Ayam, and her strength could be seen from the stats displayed on Ryudo's hooligan analysis mirror. Name: Kaneshiro Ruehui. Age: 55. Attributes: Intelligence LV5, Constitution LV1, Courage LV4, Insight LV5, Charm LV4. How should he describe her attributes? They were quite similar to Ayam's. Ruehui and Yongji were monsters on the same level when it came to the most crucial aspects of wisdom and insight. It was precisely because of their factions that Ruehui wasn't as bold and didn't have as much magical charm. If one really had to say where Ruehui was lacking the most compared to Yongji, it was naturally her physical ability. Unlike Ayam, who had undergone countless modifications and was no longer like a normal human, Ruehui's physical fitness could be said to be quite weak, even worse than an ordinary person. This difference in physical ability was also the deciding factor that led to Ruehui's tragic ending. If Ryudo remembered correctly, the ruler of Kamiyoshi would pass away a year later due to illness. Her body wasn't very good to begin with, and as the conflict with the Tenmu group intensified, she worked even harder and fell ill. In the end, she fell seriously ill and was sent to chat with Amaterasu Amikami. With Ruehui's death, the atmosphere in the second half of the game became more and more terrifying. Without any worries, Yongji crazily carried out all kinds of sensational plans. She completely took control of the government in her hands. She arranged for the bureaucrats to perform a striptease on the streets and mercilessly killed those who resisted on the streets. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that most of the dangers that the main characters faced in the second half of the game were actually a chain reaction caused by Ruehui's death. If Ruehui didn't die, Ayam wouldn't have dared to dance so happily, and the direction of the future would have been greatly changed. At this moment, the Kaneshiro family head, who was about to die of illness, revealed a gentle smile and said to Takashi, who had come to receive him, "I hope that President Takashi won't take offense to my uninvited visit." No. How could it be? Sister Ruehui is willing to come. It must be the honor of our Saitu Hall. Wu Hong quickly shook his head and replied, but he suddenly realized something in his heart. That's right. Sister Ruehui didn't seem to be among the registered guests today. Shouldn't Kamiyoshi send Kamishiro Yoshiyuki, that loser? For a moment, President Wu Hong was also a little confused. Originally, It was agreed that Yoshiyuki would come. Why did Rue Hui suddenly change her mind and choose to come in person? Didn't she not like to participate in this kind of event? Ryudo was also puzzled about this point. After all, in his opinion, Rue Hui shouldn't have appeared at all, and she just happened to appear in front of him. What's worse was that the person who came in with Rue Hui was actually an old acquaintance of Cat House. Although all the guests could only enter by themselves when they entered the gate, they couldn't bring bodyguards. But obviously, this rule didn't apply to Rue Hui at all. Cat House's bunny ball stood only about 1 meter away from the owner. After coming in, the old ninja immediately began to observe the surrounding situation vigilantly. Ryudo quickly lowered his head and tried to block his eyes with his hat. Now Ryudo's appearance had some changes because of the rogue magic post. The conspicuous yellow hair was also blocked by the hat. It wasn't easy to recognize him just by looking at his face. But the eyes were different. The eyes were the window to the soul. Recognizing people was actually done through the eyes most of the time. With the strength of the old man bunny ball, as long as the two eyes met, then there was a high probability that Ryudo's identity would be seen through by him. This was simply the worst situation. What kind of sin did I commit? Why did I encounter such a level of emergency at the beginning of the plan? When Rue Hui and Wu Hong chatted at the door, Ryudo's heart was really a million alpacas dancing crazily in his heart. However, before these two big shots could chat for a while, Wu Hong gestured towards the inside and said with a smile, "Big sister Rue Hui, let's go in and talk." "Well, but I don't want to eat in the banquet hall, and I don't want to be disturbed, so arrange a suite for me to rest for a while. Can I participate in the speech?" "Of course, then I'll take you." "No, you're the host. You should be very busy. Just let the waiter take me up." Just when Wu Hong was about to say, "Then I'll take Sister Rue Hui up," Rue Hui shook her head understandingly, and at the same time, looked at the waiter standing next to her, or her future son-in-law. When Ryudo was stared at by Rue Hui, a stiff smile appeared on his face. It was even uglier than crying. "Okay. Then take Sister Rue Hui to the presidential suite on the 49th floor. Thank you for your hard work." Having said that, Wu Hong reached out and patted Ryudo's shoulder next to him. After giving him a thumbs up, he nodded to Rue Hui, then walked away happily. Judging from Wu Hong's back, it seemed that he didn't have to face Rue Hui. It's just that he was relaxed now. But the problem was that Ryudo was really in trouble. Chapter 139. After Wu Hong left, Rue Hui looked at Ryudo again and ordered in a flat tone, "Let's go lead the way." Yes. Ryudo had no choice but to turn around and walk toward the main passage that he came from not long ago. Rue Hui and Bunkomaru followed behind him. Ryudo never dreamed that he would encounter such a magical scene on his kidnapping trip. "I, Ryudo Kiryu, came out to kidnap my third wife. But I was caught red-handed in the hotel by my third father-in-law, and was assigned to serve my first mother-in-law. This relationship is so messed up. It's not just messed up like a pot of porridge, it's practically a pot of stew. What kind of bad luck am I having today? Is it written on the calendar that kidnapping is not an option?" As Ryudo walked toward the main passage, he felt a mountain-like pressure coming from behind him. He couldn't help but clench his teeth to prevent himself from revealing any flaws. This was because Rue Hui was staring at him. Ryudo would never mistake the feeling of being stared at from behind. Of course, Ryudo wasn't mistaken. Kanzaki Rui was indeed walking slowly, while sizing up the ordinary-looking waiter in front of her. After a while, Rue Hui whispered to Bunkomaru, who was walking behind her, "What do you think of this waiter? He's well-trained and has a steady temperament. He's definitely not someone who's used to this." Just like Rue Hui, Bunkomaru was also secretly staring at Ryudo. After all, he was a waiter who was responsible for leading the way for his mistress. For safety's sake, he had to check out Ryudo. Judging from the way he walked, Longdo's body was always moving in a straight line. Every step he took felt quite steady, and his footsteps were light and silent. At first glance, it was obvious that he was a martial artist who had been trained for a long time. Indeed, Such an excellent young man is actually working as a waiter here? Isn't it a bit too wasteful? After hearing Bunny Ball's answer, Rui Hui couldn't help but shake her head in pity. Although Rui Hui did not know martial arts, her perceptive ability was one of the best in the world. She could tell at a glance that this young man was definitely not simple. All the staff in the hotel today seemed to be members of the Saitu Guild, but judging from his situation, he doesn't seem to be valued by the guild. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been sent to do such a job. Is that so? If that's the case, I'll have a chat with him later. If he's a talent, I'll have him work in Kamiyoshi, so that he won't waste his life here. Rui Hui had never hesitated to poach other people's talents. The Kamiyoshi clan had so many talents today. It was all thanks to her innate wisdom and decisive personality. However, this outstanding young man, who was about to be poached, didn't know that his mother-in-law had taken a fancy to him. Instead, he was worried about another matter. What to do? After a while, the elevator was in front, but I don't have a key card. How can I start the elevator? As the three moved forward, seeing the elevator not far away from the corner waving at them, Ryuto was so flustered that he almost burst into tears. The elevator in the Tokyo Emperor Hotel required a special elevator key card to be swiped at the same time. Otherwise, the floor button couldn't be pressed at all. Generally speaking, most of the staff in the hotel had such an elevator key card. Being a waiter was definitely a must-have. But the problem was that Ryuto was not a real waiter. He was actually a kidnapper disguised as a waiter. And in the previous plan, Ryuto didn't need to open the elevator at all. So naturally, he didn't prepare anything like a key card. Now, with Rui Hui and Bunny Ball behind him, and in front of the elevator that couldn't be opened, Ryuto felt that he seemed to have walked into a dead end. How can I open the elevator door? And even if I open the elevator to the 49th floor, I can't get the key card to the presidential suite, right? Generally speaking, the suite key card of this kind of hotel was kept in the hands of a professional. If the waiter needed to add a room, he would send a request through the walkie-talkie, and someone would immediately send the key card to the door. Although Long Do also had a walkie-talkie hanging on his chest, his walkie-talkie was just a decoration. It couldn't connect to the channel here at all. Therefore, he couldn't open the presidential suite either. What should I do? How? Yes. Pay-to-win shopping mall. I remember seeing something similar to a lockpick there before. For ordinary people, this situation could be said to be the most desperate situation, and there was no room to reverse the situation. However, Dragon Fight was different. He was a real gamer who had spent a lot of money. So Ryuto walked slowly, while quickly opening the shopping mall, and looking through the items in the shopping mall. Lockpicks. Hooligan lockpicks. Wait, no, this won't work. After opening the rogue lockpick, that was priced at 500,000, and said to be able to open most keyholes, Ryuto's face was full of tears. From the shape and description, this rogue lockpick could only be used to open locks with keys, and couldn't be used on elevators or electronic locks outside the suite. When he realized this, Ryuto couldn't help but feel goosebumps all over his body, and the deadly elevator was only 10 to 20 meters away from him. Damn, can I only commit suicide? Suicide because I can't open the elevator. This cause of death is really stupid. Beastie. Just as Ryuto was about to take out the Uzi and shoot himself, the walkie-talkie hanging on his chest suddenly made a slight sound. Then, a familiar voice carefully floated out from the walkie-talkie. Boss, can you hear me? Please reply if you hear me. This voice is sensible. Great, I'm saved. The moment he heard the familiar voice, Ryuto quickly raised the walkie-talkie and said openly, Report, I'm taking the guest to elevator 107. Preparing to go to the 49th floor presidential suite. Other than that, there is no other abnormality. Contact complete. On the surface, this was just a normal communication report to the front desk. But Ryuto believed that Sensible on the other side of the walkie-talkie could understand his meaning. If he couldn't, then Ryuto would really take out his gun and commit suicide. After that, there was no sound from the walkie-talkie. Ryuto walked towards the elevator with a nervous heart. Just as Ryudo brought Rue Hui and Bunny Ball to the door of elevator 107, he used his body to block the view of the two people behind him. He pretended to hold the key card and dripped it into the sensor area next to the elevator. Please, you must open it, you must beep. Accompanied by a crisp sound, the light next to the elevator turned from red to green, and the elevator door that was about to sentence Ryudo to death also opened. Phew. Well done, sensible Goro. Suddenly, Ryudo smiled, stepped aside, and made a pleased gesture to Rue Hui. Chapter 140. Testing Chapter. Running away from the road, he did not hate the straight Jianduolong. While he was talking, he looked to the side to see if the cat in the house with a meatball rabbit was really like that. Did you return my question? Go to the front room and call for her? Is it possible? Whether or not you are willing to fight the dragon. The inquiry is not completely obvious. The room and the suite are always in and out. The first is Huerue. The last sentence is this: throw away the young man's shio, you score 10 points, and anger the handsome young man this pair. You can ask me anything you want, right? I'll take you in. Why do you still need to ask? Why do you still need to ask? Why do you need to return so quickly? You can still do it quickly. Next time, when you are fighting the dragon in the center of GA, you will have to listen to me. Wait a minute. The Tao says that it is suddenly Hui Rue. When the time opens, it leaves the body and turns around to prepare for the battle of dragons. Children's affairs are unavoidable, and the implication of this is that as soon as there is a room on the 15th floor, Yani is on the 8th floor, and Yani is on the 8th floor at this time. From time to time, it was inevitable that the cause of fortune and misfortune was also the cause of the battle. However, it was unexpected that this was not the case. Huerue, who had followed him here, said, "Let's run away, but I'm the only one here, tied up in the end." "Please, madam, this is the opening of the door of the Tao Gate," bowing slightly to the dragon of battle. The back door was opened, and Ji Ming, who was helping out, was present. Lu 94, who was the best in the room, arrived. Huerue brought along Dolong, who was in charge of the room. However, leisurely in front of her eyes, she was looking for herself. She didn't look like she wanted to be right, but she also predicted it. When she went to the suite, she went to the main building. She was wearing the 94th official uniform of the imperial court. She had been with her for more than a few years. Although he was close to receiving it, he was still very close to the truth. Although it was indeed Hui Rue, who had broken down many times, said that he had no choice but to do so. Now that he has come from his own family, Hui Rue, the reason is that he is right. What are the ghosts doing at the bottom of the little one? To have a look. Hand meeting that eye of the heavens has decided that Hui Rue is where to be. Inside the wine shop. This is the fight between the dragon and the tree. Member acting sure Lin Jing does not look alike. To die or not to die. To die or to die of old predestined fate. Good luck. Don't be so lucky. Because it is not enough. The target has been marked. The early group has assembled to watch the sky, and also to fight the dragon Shengtong. It seems that the report has arrived to Hui Rue's route. This time, Dianqing also came to fight Long Shengtong. How could it be difficult to say that it was difficult to do so? Is he? Huerue in the center of the emergence of the hair yellow small fighting Long Shengtong. To do one. The words of the event that the hair growth period before to want to connect in the fruit. Friends get along well with each other. Are they friends or not? In her heart, this situation on the side, and Dianqing on the side, and friends on the side, why would they not cut her off? It seems that the solved Li Lu and Hui Rue, the tender water, is to return to you. The small hands play in front of the mother is thinking, the children are stupid. Hui Rue on behalf of the gods is still willing to that, and admit that people's love for Li Lu is really heavenly to solve the highest world. This is to say that the right is to wait for the division to be big, the words of this mother if no daughter knows. But how long will it take to settle on one? Speaking of which, if this girl does not know her mother, the field is celebrating, and she is close to that. The external meaning of this matter is added to Li Lu to let this matter quietly return to Hui Rui. The external meaning of this matter is not only the request has been answered by I Ching ran unexpectedly Hui Rui. Is the external meaning of this matter is to the feelings of Li Lu to let go do what you want. If you are that, then I am Bai Ming. The point of the heart will be even more natural self. Dian Qing added to the side. The friends I actually finished. The childlike Dian Qing field is very similar to You Come and See, this Tathagata original. Suspicious of the production of Ji Yong to not let the running away Dajing Mingguang can fight the dragon like this. The external intercepting department of the whole group of people. The heavens will be the people's clan god. The opening of Yani Dong to fight the dragon is, the next situation is the best. With the manual ninja, and the clan god of Sure, Wu can only ask that, the group of people who have moved the main party not to fight the dragon at this time. The intercepting group of people. The heavens will meet a lot of people on the way. The opening of Yani Dong to wait for the group of people to finish. Quan and Jia is more able to wait for the time to flee and fight the dragon. The hope is to want the main party. The discussion of building this kind of matter is to mention Li Lu. Good, come down to stop them. He will be the first one. The movement of the words prepared for the group of people. The heavens will be the result. This close to the clan of Shi Wu. We arrange the arrangement should be aware of Mien. The interesting thing is not completely finished. This pair of people's master's voice Buddha imitates. The water is as calm as to go up to listen to the sound of the voice to spread the side of the line. How about building the next mention of you? You are ready, what do you need to do? Ask Hui Rui to match these words, the electric strike of Tseng Li Lu long ago. You are ready. What do you need to do this? The side of moving the live celebration, that Tung Zai will meet the group of people. The heavens will feel me, the great mother. Ask for a place around the border that Dian Qing is busy helping his mother to let Li Lu return from the source. Because of this cut. The Tao of knowing just now is also true of Li Lu. This matter this go to the scene of the celebration to run straight to the meeting Hui Rui. Sweat squeezed the dark center and also Li Lu. The scene of the situation after a few observations. Continuous wisdom instructs. Go to the side of the big trouble that fight the dragon. The words of the Wine King Emperor Jingdong. Go to slip quietly the great mother found suddenly, as if it is really dangerous. Li Lu, who is in charge of the control of Li Lu in the capital, began to open the wine shop to walk in Hui Rui from the top to the bottom of the. There is nothing in the other areas. The toilet house follows by itself. The weak thin too is also the control of the defense of the wine shop. The words and hands are high into the dark energy of the control of the police department. This is the end of him. Rong Xiao relaxed the exposure of this wisdom. The release of the fighting dragon Lu 94 went to the ladder to sit on the screen to watch. Okay. The concierge's suite opened. He prepared to come down to pick it up. The dangerous escape has already met the side of the big elder. The head sister big. Lonbo more than enough. But the fighting dragon of the wine shop is possible. The progress is smooth in the side of the process of the work of the road is as said, although it is not only dig thoroughly enough to be able to come in dozens of times again. Half a close to the digging of the previous eyes. The words are not wrong. The judgment of Li Lu fruit is like, when the work of the drum and gong is tight in the road of the hell of the prison guard duck nest. The screen on the screen is as, the staff of the reaction field, and the movement of the members of the work team, and also with wisdom to wave the finger. This is in charge of the duty of the commander of the army, as if it is still Li Lu, in the heart of the guard of the special situation. The banquet of the wine king Jingdong, in the region is lively and hot in the center. The prison guard duck nest of the region is walking back and forth. The guards are still outside the head, and there are many prisoners in the cell inside. The tunnel diggers in the water of the region are carrying out the continuation in the center of the crowd. The appearance of the painting is not shown in the head. The device shows one every time. The device shows the quantity of the device is placed in the head in the heart of the waving of the finger. The breath is relaxed in the end. The screen of Li Lu is held in the head in the heart of the waving finger of the Si Gong Bao Long Ru. Of the distance section is still the Wine King Jingdong. Of the Wine King Jingdong, of the distance. The busy big help is true. The door ladder electricity starts to control the brain of the Wine King Jingdong. Of the Wine King Jingdong of the black. The hand to assist in the service of the time. This can be his total. But the question of the question has oneself appeared by oneself. How is the wisdom of the path not to fight the dragon? The busy help Lang Wu Jiming's scout Bo Sai. This person has suffered a lot. The luck starts to fight Li Lu. This is enough to ladder electricity, ask no doubts. The quick time of life and death experience is actually in the inside. This just out does not look at the whole thing. Slowly and steadily up the ladder electricity. The button presses the floor 94. The press of the ground is like the light fighting the dragon by itself. However, since that has to be cut down, the door ladder electricity is in the beginning. Chapter 141. The Tokyo Emperor Hotel's top-notch presidential suite could only be described as resplendent. The materials used in the room were exquisite, and the workmanship was exquisite. From the carpet to the sofa, table lamp, and chandelier, they were all top-notch luxury brands. The several hundred square meters of luxurious space was spacious and bright. Living here was truly an imperial level of luxury. Ryudo had never entered a presidential suite like this before. But after entering, no matter how good the decoration was, he couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. What should I do? Don't tell me I gave myself away. That shouldn't be the case. Or else I would have been taken down on the spot. But if I didn't expose myself, why did Rue Hui call me here? Could it be, she's interested in my handsome appearance and strong body? Instantly, an absurd thought appeared in Ryudo's mind. Everyone knew that Rue Hui Kaneshiro didn't have a husband. Even Colored Glaze didn't know who her father was. In Red Album 2, no survivors. It didn't show any of Rue Hui Kaneshiro's daily life. Whenever she appeared, she was either scheming against others, or lying on the bed like a corpse. But no matter what, Rue Hui was still a beautiful woman with impeccable looks. And she looked like she was at most 30 years old. Naturally she would have that needs. After thinking about this, Ryudo couldn't help but gulp as he looked at the mature body wrapped in the elegant kimono. If she wants me to. No, how can I? I can't let down Colored Glaze, Yunyan and Dunya. I have to firmly reject her. When Rue Hui came to the living room of the suite, and sat on the antique sofa, Ryudo followed her in fear, and stood beside the coffee table not far away. He seemed to be nervous and uneasy, and even his legs were trembling. Rabitoshi was currently guarding the door. As long as Ryudo made the slightest movement, this guardian ninja would immediately stop him. It could be said that Rabitoshi had completely sealed off his escape route. There was Rue Hui in front and Tuwan behind. There was no way out. Just as Ryudo was feeling uneasy about his future, Rue Hui smiled at him and said, "You don't have to be so reserved. We're just chatting. Sit down." "That, madam. May I know why you're looking for me?" "I don't know anything." Ryudo lowered his voice as much as possible, and asked in a very confused tone. "Hold your breath, and empty your mind. Don't hesitate or think at all." Due to the fact that he had previously encountered Tengu Ayam, who possessed the same divine insight ability, Ryudo already knew how to interact with Rue Hui. Level 5 Insight and Level 5 Intelligence allowed these two monsters to determine the psychological state of others through their expressions, breathing, heartbeat, tone, and other traces. In other words, it was very difficult to lie in front of Rue Hui without being discovered. Since that was the case, he chose not to lie. He just had to completely bring his other identity into his current role. Seeing Ryudo's confused expression, Rue Hui smiled and said, "Anyway, let me introduce myself first. I'm Rue Hui Kaneshiro, the leader of the Kamiyoshi clan. What about you?" While introducing herself, Rue Hui's gaze was constantly fixed on Ryudo's body, carefully observing all of his reactions. When asked for a name, the reaction of giving a real name and a fake name was absolutely different. Unless it was a well-trained spy, It was impossible for a normal person to hide from Rue Hui's eyes. Ryudo immediately replied without hesitation, "Hello, Madam Rue Hui. My name is Li Lan." "Li Lan? You're a foreigner?" "Yes, I'm originally from a neighboring country. Because of some strange encounters I came here. After coming here, I encountered a lot of complicated things, and then I started working here." As Ryudo spoke, he showed a bitter smile, as if he was a pitiful child who had experienced many hardships despite his young age. The name and the experiences he had told her were all true. The child was not lying at all. After listening to Ryudo's self-introduction, Rue Hui could not help but nod. In fact, Ryudo's self-introduction was indeed true. After all, Li Lan was his real name before he transmigrated. When he said his real name, it naturally did not feel like he was lying. And as a person from a neighboring country, he came here because of some strange encounters, and then he encountered a lot of complicated things. How did this sound wrong? Ryudo used the method of skirting around the edges to explain his true information. This was the tactic that he chose to use to deal with Rue Hui. After all, his internal and external were really incompatible. His body and soul were actually two different people. Even if he had God-level insight, he could not see through this trick of switching his internal and external. At this moment, Rue Hui went straight to the point and said, "Lan, actually I called you here because..." Just as Rue Hui was about to invite Ryudo to work at the Kamiyoshi clan, suddenly Rabbit Ball, who was standing at the door, frowned and turned to look outside the presidential suite. A powerful aura, an aura that seemed to be burning, emitting intense hatred and battle intent. Most martial artists who practice martial arts to the peak of perfection were able to condense their own aura. It could be called killing intent, battle intent, or domineering aura. In short, it was an aura that could be felt from far away. Although the owner of the aura was at least 10 meters away in the hallway, Rabbit Ball clearly felt the aura through the thick door. Rabbit Ball was not the only one who felt the powerful aura. Even Ryudo, who was sitting in the living room, felt it. What a powerful aura. Who is it? At this moment, an excessively sharp aura was placed on Long Do's neck like a sharp blade, causing him to unconsciously react before the battle. Almost instinctively, Ryudo moved to the side and blocked in front of Rue Hui. His lower body was slightly squatted, and his hands were raised as if he was ready to attack at any time. Originally, Ryudo did not have any battle stance to speak of. However, after purchasing the ancient Bajiquan, his battle stance seemed to have reached a certain level. "Calm down, young man." After sensing Ryudo's vigilance, Rabbit Ball said without turning his head, "The person outside is my old friend. He is only inviting me to go out for a gathering." Although this method is a bit too rude. Although Rue Hui could not feel the aura, she roughly knew what happened. Thus she said calmly, "Old friend and old opponent, right? Although his strength is not below mine, I don't regard him as an opponent, because we are not on the same path." Although Rabbit Ball also killed people, in essence, the meaning of the existence of a guardian ninja, like him, was only to protect the Kamiyoshi clan from foreign enemies. However, the demon child standing in the corridor outside the door was a freak born to kill. He was a natural killer. Chapter 142. His strength was on par with Nyamaru, and he even saw him as an opponent. Was it the demon child Saito? After hearing Nyamaru's description, Ryudo had a rough idea of who the murderous guy was. The demon child Saito was the headquarter teacher of the Saito Guild Hall. He was the cousin of the current president, Saito Takahiro, and also Dunia's uncle. In the original game, most of the characters in the Saito Guild Hall only appeared in the Dunia arc, and this Saito could be considered the villain of the Dunia arc. How should this man be described? He was born with a deformity and grew up under the ridicule of others, so his personality was extremely twisted. Although the physical condition of the Saito Guild Hall was different from ordinary people, this member of the Saito family had a godlike talent in martial arts. He could basically learn most of the martial arts just by looking at it once. Ever since he was young, he had been ridiculed for entering the Tao. After discovering his martial arts talent, He had been immersed in the pleasure of practicing martial arts. He traveled around the world at a young age, looking for martial artists from various sects to fight. When he was in his 20s, he had fought more than 1,000 times. He could be said to be a war maniac born for martial arts. It was just that this pursuit of martial arts very quickly evolved into the pursuit of slaughter. After all, the essence of martial arts was to kill. The deeper the pursuit, the easier it was to fall into a quagmire. Therefore, the current Saitu Guild Hall was already in a state of madness. He secretly captured many disciples of the Saitu Guild Hall to test his skills and brutally killed them. The demon child lived up to his name. That's right. It was mentioned that Saitu had once lost to a cat house by putting rabbit balls on it. Just when the legendary demon child was provoking him outside, Ryudo remembered a small detail mentioned in the Dunya arc. The reason why Saitu Guild Hall always wore an iron mask that covered half of his face was because he had a huge scar on his face, and this scar was left behind by Nyamaru. Looking at it from this perspective, it was not hard to understand why the Tao initiation sect would want to find him to avenge their humiliation. However, it was his business to seek revenge after entering the Tao. Rabbit Ball had no intention of fighting with that fellow again. Moreover, the battle between the two of them back then was just a misunderstanding caused by a coincidence. It was just that after entering the Tao for so many years, they still refused to let it go. But even so, Bunny Ball shook his head and said, "What a headache. It seems like that guy doesn't intend to leave if I don't go out. I guess I can only send him away. It's fine. Don't worry about it. President Wu Hong should already know about this. Someone will come to stop him soon." Rui Hui was rather calm about this sudden incident. Her eyes didn't even have the slightest change. In her opinion, it was not a big deal. As long as Saitu was a normal person, he would not attack the distinguished guests of the Kamiyoshi clan at such a large-scale celebration. Of course, the premise of this reasonable deduction was that Saitu was a normal person. In fact, he was completely different from a normal person. You don't want to come out? Very good. Just as Bunny Ball was not going out, the short middle-aged man with an iron mask covering half of his face standing outside had a dark expression. He pressed his hand on the wall beside him. Hiss. Huff. As Saitu took a deep breath, his body actually expanded at a scale visible to the naked eye. The black suit that was originally in line with his body suddenly bulged out. Especially the muscles on his arms. They directly burst out of his sleeves. There was a tearing sound. Bunny Ball, who was standing at the door of the suite, sighed and said helplessly, "Not good. That madman is really going to attack. Rui Hui-sama, please sit tight." "Ah, sit tight? What do you mean?" Before Rui Hui could react, a wave of impact suddenly appeared in the room. It was an impact, and it came from outside the room. It directly penetrated through the wall that was more than 10 meters away. After using all the strength in his body, Seida's hand that was much wider than a normal person, and even his palm print was smoothed out, suddenly pressed against the wall. With this press, an exaggerated penetrating force immediately passed through the wall and blasted into the presidential suite, where Rui Hui and the others were in. Bang! Pa! Boom! In an instant, a crisp explosion sounded almost at the same time. The vase on the table, the goldfish bowl beside the bed, the light bulb above the head, and other fragile things were all shattered on the spot. How should this scene be described? It was like someone used an excavator to fiercely dig outside the room, causing a strong vibration. Of course, this was not caused by some kind of heavy machinery, but by the penetrating force caused by a pair of flesh palms. What the hell is this? The moment the vibration started, Ryudo immediately reacted. He quickly took off his jacket and covered Rui Hui's head to prevent her from being scratched by the light bulb. Although his relationship with Rui Hui was a bit strange, she was still Colored Glaze's mother, and his future mother-in-law. In addition, Rui Hui looked very similar to Colored Glaze. Ryudo occasionally saw the shadow of Colored Glaze on her. Therefore, taking the initiative to protect Rui Hui was his instinctive reaction. Not bad, his reaction was fast, and he had a good sense of protection. Originally, Bunkomaru wanted to personally protect Rui Hui, but who knew that Ryudo would snatch his job from the side? So he looked at the youth's back with a gratified gaze. If Bunkumaru did not comment on Rue Hui's invitation to this youth before, now he was a bit fond of this youth named Lilan. He really had a bright future. However, Ryudo, who was unexpectedly recognized by Bunkumaru, could not help but immediately look at the direction of the wall where the force came from. Could it be that Saito entering the Daofella had used his palm to blast out that attack? Isn't that a bit too exaggerated? Although Ryudo knew that the demon child's martial arts attainment was at the top level in this world, he did not expect it to be this strong. Even with his LV4 physique, it was impossible for him to shatter the glass in the room with a single palm strike from afar. This was not something that could be done with brute force alone. It must contain the essence of a profound martial arts skill. By the way, is my mother-in-law okay? If she's hurt, it will be troublesome. Her body is already very weak. Long Do was stunned for a second by the earth-shattering attack of entering Dao. He hurriedly lowered his head to look at Rue Hui, who was protected by his clothes. He lowered his head and looked down. Coincidentally, Rue Hui also raised her head and looked in his direction. Their eyes coincidentally met. Chapter 143. Testing Chapters Changing in the Morning. If you like this book, please come to Chidian to support the original version. Thank you very much. The murderous and violent Taoist came and stood in front of her. Hui Ruichao hastily responded by fighting the dragon. Later he was aware of this. After taking a few steps back, he felt that it was not appropriate for him to take a few steps back. It was obvious that Huerue's daughter was weak and gentle. Even if we don't do it close together, we still have to think about it. Although our bodyguards are not far away, the people who are startled should also have an imposing aura and a suppressive wind. When we are producing, our hands are fighting against each other. Looking at the strong and strong divided into 10, Ma Wanjun and Chanru felt the fight. The people at the peak of the peak called Kandu Fong Jiejing, Huanji Wu Tsongluan, no hands, senior top. The accuracy of the quantitative comparison is very high. This is why we have to look at the next time. The first is still fighting the dragon. Acting in the arena is like a straight line. Going to the plank flower sky to the fight can still go even further. Gambling with each other on the wall, measuring with the carpet, walking on the wall, flying on the eaves, moving around and rolling over the shadow. The number of wide meters walking in the corridor is only limited. Malhan divided half of himself. He did not injure the user. He dispelled the momentum to attack the Tao of hegemony, the Tao of general's angle of view's strangeness. He followed the ability to resist him. He attacked less and defended more, although the pill was a rabbit. He seemed to be flying in the air, punching at the head. He was so angry that even the Buddha seemed to imitate. The sound of the wind was like thunder, carrying along with it when he attacked. Every punch, however, his small and short limbs moved in all directions. The way of the extreme was so domineering that it was comparable to the way of attack. After a moment of stupefaction, he had to see who it was. When the battle was about to break out, he would fight the dragon in front of him, and the two Taoists would enter the ball rabbit dang. The young are not strong, but the old are one person, the middle are one person, the young are one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one person, the young are one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one person, he is one. If we do not have the ability to slightly return the power of the physical body, we will be able to compare with the fighting of the dragon. Are the spikes of monsters of different levels counted even though there are always people in their heads? What about her appearance and appearance? Why does she belong to two different people? Strength, charm 3, insight whole 4, knowledge, courage 4, spirit, body 1, intelligence. Sexual attribute years 94. Age Daojin Tingzai. Name the year of Yot Ball Rabbit Mahiko. Name. Although Xiao Yuren's natural disposition belongs to the big boss and big position, it seems that her natural disposition belongs to the single fruit. The move is excessively fast and afraid of the chaotic dazzling eyes. The scripture has already reached two people. The ball has become the battle ball rabbit, the house cat, and the scripture has already entered the tongue's eye. The past should be the battle dragon, and the others have not returned. The wall is still there when it's gone. What's with the 3 arrows? He ran up the wall and stepped on Nung Ranju's house. Heaven is old. Marubi rushed to the back of the group of bodyguards and circled around. He counted the short man who was running up the wall and stepping on the lightning-like body. Suddenly he jumped to the side and went down. If he wanted to say something, he wanted to say that he had not finished yet. The Taoist priest said that as he retreated, a ball of rabbit was applied to the house cat, so that the bodyguard could save him. Well, it's too much not to manually connect in the straight line. This is in the body of you with. Besieging Fan's attack of the fist pulled out the back. The collar clothes grabbed the palm of the old song, only had the bad luck of the bodyguard to fall. At the same time, he waved his fist in the air. When the death field was the guiding force, it would be extremely great. The bodyguard who smashed the bowels and 6 viscera and 5 would have enough power to hit him. But the fist and the whip record was waived. The intent followed only by the Taoist priest. He waved his arm to the sturdy trunk of the tree, as if there was still only one. After he finished speaking, the long line of bodyguards had not returned. You can do whatever you want. The distinguished guests of the region are all here. I apologize. Dao said that the first thing to do is to quickly connect people. Can you retreat? Can you not protect the safety of your bodyguards? This is the responsibility of this department. Ball Rabbit Masahiko looked like a fierce tiger. Ball Rabbit Masahiko looked like a cat. His gaze was focused like a tiger. Bodyguard Wu Fong passed through the light in front of him. Let go. Over and over again, he said that he was only me. The Taoist priest's voice is a child demon position. There was also a group of people gathering around the imperial palace, who were paying close attention to the work of the imperial palace's staff and bodyguards, who were close to the imperial palace's bodyguards. Naturally, the commotion was big. They had just entered the Tungzai, so there was not the slightest question. The middle corridor of Maruta's room was wide and spacious. When he was standing in front of the door, he did not give way to him. In front of him, he was blocking the bodyguard's Western attire. His body was black. His name was Several Good. The way outside was entering Tungzai. Entering Tungzai, the man's eyes widened in anger, and the rabbit's eyes were far from standing still. Looking around, he went to the right to face the dragon, and in an instant he went out of the door. As soon as the sound of footsteps came and went, the sutra was already at the end of the corridor, and the door was open. At the back of the head, the buttocks family members are following. The ground is very old, but the body is very strong. But near this has to go Hui Rue, and do not volunteer to fight the dragon on the wisdom and reason, although, tie the knot when the time comes. Wait for her to fight the dragon to let fall. This version of SNLD's old wives and old wives are all women. Adding on and adding on. Their self-respect looks very much like Huerue. Rubbing and rubbing are indispensable. The production is also a double. The one of the enemy is also a clan family representative god. The one who wants to set up fighting the dragon in the body. Is this counted as the enemy's attack? The one who made the move, Hui Rue, is like suddenly, what do you want me to do? Is this how it is done? Strange old times. There is a situation on the surface. The one under the somersault is also fighting the dragon. When going out to face Hui Rue, the gatekeeper opens the Marutu when. Point a light comparison to light death. He wants to see whether it is worth it or not. Is it worth it? 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 Is it because of the bad shell brain? Is it because the main clan family representative god dares to enter Tingzai? Is it because of this? Is it because of the tight situation? Is it because of the square? Is it because of the support type? Is it because of the straight clan family representative god? Is it because of the fierce attack? Is it because of the clan family representative god? Is it because of the strange wind? Is it because of the strange wind? Is it because of the beginning of the clan family? Is it because of Hui Rui's previous words? Is it because of the beard madness? Is it because of the clan family representative god, who wants me to go out? Is it because of Lan and Marutu? Is it because of the provocation? Is it because of the glass's inner room? Is it because of the shock attack? Is it because of the wall? Is it because of the release of friends? Is it because of the release of the chi? Is it because of the previous words? Is it because of the displeasure? Is it because of the flash? Is it because of the door? Is it because of Hui Rui? The expression on his face was calm and indifferent. After recovering, his countenance became serious and upright. He stepped back and retreated to the ground silently. He hastily fought the dragon and Hui Rui. When they were close enough, they seemed to be able to sense it. Is it okay to protect Lan? Is it because of the loss? Yes. Well, it's because of you. Come and go slowly also Marutu. Is it because of the appearance of the east? Is it because of the two dragons? Is it because of Hui Rui? Is it because of the person who speaks? Is it because of the person who looks like the person in the picture? Is it because of Lan? How much do you think I am? Is it because of the appearance of the face? Is it because of the sudden? Is it because of the back of the eyes? Is it because of the head dragon? Is it because of Hui Rui? The face has the person's age. Is it because of the wrinkles? Is it because of the tight and greasy skin? Is it because of her age? Is it because of Hui Rui? Is it because of the appearance? Is it because of the words? Is it because of the makeup? Is it because of the long glass fruit? Her maturity was even more obvious. When she saw Li Lu and Hui Rui, who had a few faces, she went to see if the distance between them was much better. The eldest daughter and mother knew this very early. Although they knew it very early, they didn't know. Alilu looks like Alilu. Okay, good face. Is it because of the greasy skin? Is it because of the long hair and eyelashes? Is it because it can be seen clearly from the back? Is it because of the division? Is it because of Hui Rui and Dolong? Chapter 144. When Rui Hui realized that the young man was standing in front of her, she couldn't help but sigh. Sorry to trouble you. I didn't expect things to develop to this point. If Rui Hui had known that Saitu was such a lunatic, she definitely wouldn't have opened the door. After all, a gentleman wouldn't stand under a collapsing wall. Moreover, this wasn't a collapsing wall, it was simply a barrel of gunpowder. Fortunately, this fight was just a personal grudge between Saitu and Bunkamaru. It had nothing to do with Rui Hui. Apart from Bunkamaru, Rui Hui also had a few guardian ninjas, hiding in the dark. She even arranged hundreds of samurai to be on standby near the Tokyo Emperor Hotel. If something really happened, Rui Hui was confident that she could escape. Even so, Ryudo took the initiative to stand in front of her time and time again. This action still warmed Rui Hui's heart. After all, unlike the guardian ninjas and kamikaze samurai, who were ordered to protect her, this young man didn't have any relationship of interest with Rui Hui. It wasn't easy for him to do such a thing. Of course, if Rui Hui knew that Ryudo unconsciously took the initiative to protect her because he saw her as a colored glaze, this feeling of gratitude would definitely vanish. Ryudo heard this and complained softly without turning his head. It's okay. Who would have thought that guy was a lunatic? There's something wrong with his head. Ryudo was just casually mocking him. After all, Saitu was a madman for entering the Tao. Although this martial arts fanatic's cruelty and madness had already been reflected in the original Dunya arc, Ryudo still didn't expect that he didn't even care about Rui Hui Kaneshiro. This kind of madness had reached the point where he was the only one in the world. It was no wonder that he would challenge Iam in the end, and then be killed by Iam. It was indeed a trap to kill, a real trap to kill. In the Dunya arc, Although Saito was invincible when he entered the Tao, his death was also quite a humiliating one. In the latter half of the plot, this guy rushed into the unfettered Sky Tower in order to show off his strength. However, he was trapped in the basement by Iam's trap, which was then filled with cement. Even a martial Tao master, who was close to the peak of human beings, could do nothing in the face of the pouring cement, and could only be made into clay sculptures. Arrogant, conceited, and extremely powerful, but not very smart. From this point of view, Ryudo still looked down on those who had entered the Tao. That was why he didn't hesitate to tell Rui Hui that there was something wrong with that guy's head. However, what he did not expect was that his casual remark had been heard by someone who had entered the Tao. Although the chaotic battlefield was a few meters away, Seida's ears seemed to be very good. He actually heard Ryudo's ridicule in such a situation. Was that guy a lunatic? Was there something wrong with his brain? When he heard this, Access Dao looked at Long Do with a sharp gaze. The anger in his eyes seemed to want to burn Long Do to ashes. Holy shit, it's one thing for Akira Kamishiro to scold me, but a mere waiter like you dares to take advantage of me? Are you looking for death? In a fit of rage, Saito directly faced Bunkamura's kick in front of him. Whoosh! Pa! Originally, Bunkamaru only wanted to force Access Dao to retreat. Who knew that he would face it without dodging? Then, he was kicked in the direction of Ryudo and Rui Hui. Not good. This guy wants to make a move on that boy. Access Dao's move was as fast as lightning and very sudden. Before Bunkamaru could react, his short figure was already a few meters away, and he reached out his left hand to grab Ryudo's throat. This man's palm was as big as a palm leaf fan. His skin was extremely rough, and his knuckles were shockingly large. It was obvious that he had practiced a lot of martial arts. If he really grabbed Ryudo's neck, his neck would snap like a straw in the next second. Sir, be careful. At the same time, another slender figure appeared behind Rui Hui like a ghost. She pulled Rui Hui back, and quickly pulled her away from the battle area. Looking carefully, it was a woman who took Rui Hui away. She was a woman in her 40s with a face scarf covering her mouth and nose. She was wearing tight clothes that were convenient for movement. Just like Bunkamaru, she was also a guardian ninja, who was responsible for protecting Rui Hui, but she usually didn't appear in public, and only acted when there was a real crisis. Ryuki, take that boy with you. Huh. While being rescued, Rui Hui instinctively said to the ninja, named Ryuki, wanting her to save Ryudo as well. After all, in Rui Hui's view, Ryudo, a 10-year-old boy, couldn't resist the surprise attack of a Access Dao. If no one rescued him, he might die on the spot. However, before she could finish her sentence, a scene that left everyone dumbfounded happened. Facing the sudden attack of the demon child Saito, Ryudo didn't even think about it. He instinctively rushed forward and reached out his right hand to grab Seida's big hand. This kid is asking for death. Seeing that Ryudo dared to grab him, the Access Dao's eyes flashed with a hint of joy. The Access Dao had spent his life learning martial arts, and had practiced countless martial arts. Among them, his best skill was the Vajra finger of Tantra. His grip was so strong that he could crush solid steel with his bare hands. When he grabbed someone, it was like grabbing plasticine, and he could easily crush their flesh and bones. Not good. Razor Koen dared to compete with the Access Dao. He will definitely. At this time, Bunkamaru also rushed over, but the two's hands were already tightly clasped together. Their fingers were intertwined, but it was not a tender gesture between lovers. It was a competition of strength to break each other's fingers. Go to hell. After grabbing Ryudo's hand, the Access Dao tightened his grip, trying to turn this arrogant young man into a one-handed hero. However, at the same time he released his force, a huge force came from his other hand. It actually withstood the Access Dao's grip. Whoa! In an instant, Ryudo squatted down and gathered all his strength in his right hand. And without hesitation, he clasped his hand together with the Access Dao. His eyes were wide open, his teeth were clenched, and his body was pressed forward. His strong and beautiful muscles contracted rapidly, as if he was a gladiator wrestling with his opponent. What a strong grip. But if it's just a competition of strength, I won't lose. After feeling the huge force from the big hand that did not match the size of his body, Ryudo exerted all his strength while staring at the Access Dao's eyes with murderous intent. Not only did he stare, Ryudo could not help but mock him to his face. Stinky shorty. You want to kill me just because I complained about you, right? Ryudo did not even dream that he would fight with the Access Dao here. And the reason was because he complained about Ruehue. You want to kill me just because I complained about you? What a temper this devil child has. But my life is Ryudo Kiryu. Do you think you can take it just because you want it? If you want it, you'll have to pay more, at least 10 million each. Chapter 145. Of course, it was impossible for Saito to spend 10 million to buy a life. He didn't have the habit of spending money to buy a life. He had always been a freeloader. Furthermore, after hearing Long Do's mocking words, Access to Dao's eyes, which were already filled with killing intent, glared so hard that they were about to bleed. Saito never thought that such a small waiter would dare to insult him. And what he insulted was the thing that angered him the most. From a very young age, Saito grew up under the ridicule of dwarf, little Ming, and hobbit. He was naturally the most sensitive to such insults. As Sato's status became higher and higher, it had been a long time since someone dared to say such insulting words in front of him. However, Ryudo dared, and he did it in front of at least a dozen people. This young man actually… Wait. His eyes. Could it be? When he realized that Ryudo could withstand the attack of Saito, Bunkamaru, who was about to go to the rescue, was stunned. But at that moment, he just happened to see Long Do's eyes that were emitting a cold aura. The eyes were the window to the soul, so Ryudo had been avoiding Bunkamaru's eyes. Otherwise, there was a high probability that he would discover his true identity. In fact, it was indeed so. When Bunkamaru saw Ryudo's eyes, he felt as if he had returned to the Kamishiro villa more than a month ago. That's right, I like her, and I will definitely marry her in the future, so? In that bedroom, the young man fearlessly expressed his intentions to Bunkamaru. Even when facing the powerful Kamiyoshi clan, the young man was still confident, and his eyes were like torches. It was the same now, even if the person standing in front of him was the legendary demon child. He still chose to face the attack head-on, and didn't retreat half a step. Could it be? This young man's identity is, in a trance, the young man named Lilan, overlapped with the person in Bunkamaru's heart, which made him feel greatly shocked. But this was impossible. How could Ryudo Kiryu have such powerful strength? It had only been a month since the last time Bunkamaru met Ryudo. At that time, Ryudo was a complete amateur in martial arts. How could he be able to withstand Sato's attack in such a short time? Just when Bunkamaru was shocked that Lilan and Ryudo might be the same person, Saito slowly opened his mouth. While he exerted force in his palm, he sneered. Very well. I want your life, even Jesus can't save it. Is that so? What do we bet? If you can't do it, how about you bark? F***KU. After hearing Ryudo reply, Dato Kiryu SS, Sato's of course, but in his heart, he was secretly a little. After all, the knuckles of his 5 fingers that had stepped into the Dao had already turned white, and veins were bulging out like earthworms. This was a sign that he was using his full strength. In other words, this young man, who looked like he was at most 10 years old, was able to withstand Sato's full strength. This was unbelievable. What was even more ridiculous was that when Saito Kiryu's hand grasped Kiryu's hand, it felt so hard that it was incomprehensible. If it was purely strength, Saito Kiryu could be explained as the young man's natural strength. After all, although this situation was rare, it was not unheard of. Sato's family had Dunya, who was a superhuman. What Saito Kiryu could not understand was the hardness of the young man's hand, which seemed to be made of steel. One had to know that the hands that had stepped into the Dao had undergone decades of body training, and soaked in various special potions, to temper their iron hands. It was not surprising that they had such hardness. But what did this young man have? How could his hand be so hard? Why? If Ryudo heard this question, he would definitely smirk and reply in a pretentious tone. Because I have a cheat. The reason why Ryudo could withstand Saito Kiryo's grip was not only because of his strong physique, but also because of the two brothers, Steelbone and Steelbone. Steelbone Mastery and Copper Skin Mastery. These two passive skills had been bought for the second time not long ago, which meant that they were now at 40% proficiency. 40% proficiency of the two passive skills, LV4 Physique, and also the title of Combat Apprentice. To increase his combat power, he could barely withstand Saito Kiryo's ferocious attacks. From this angle, it wasn't hard to see how terrifying Saito was. His strength had almost reached an inhuman level. If it was not for the fact that they were competing purely on strength, they would have fought each other. Right now, Long Do would definitely be defeated by him in a short period of time. After all, their combat awareness and skills were not on the same level. Long Do might have even picked his nose more times than Long Do. Therefore, Long Do could only barely hold on at this moment, and was completely unable to counterattack. However, not being able to fight back did not mean that he could not speak. Therefore, Ryudo began to bombard him with words. Harder, did you not eat? Or are you going to scratch my itch here? I don't have money to pay, do you mind? Ugh, you just said that you want to kill me. Hurry up, don't just stare at me. I've been afraid of dead fish eyes since I was young. Ugh, looks like that's all you've got. I gave you a chance, but you didn't use it. Don't call me demon child, call me giant baby. With every sentence that Ryudo said, Saito Kiryo's face turned redder. In the end, his face was as red as an apple. It looked quite funny. When he heard the word giant baby, Saito Kiryo could not hold it in anymore. F*CKU #% accompanied by an almost indiscernible curse, the short man finally could not hold it in any longer, and moved his right hand. He attacked Ryudo's outstretched wrist with lightning speed. From the beginning to the end, Saito had only used his left hand to wrestle with Ryudo, because he couldn't accept the fact that he couldn't crush Ryudo with one hand. But perhaps it was because Ryudo's scolding that this martial arts expert finally gave up his dignity, and chose to use his other hand to launch a fierce attack. If this right hand hit, Ryudo's extended wrist would definitely break on the spot, and then his entire hand would be crushed into meat paste. Unfortunately, at the same time, four thin flying needles flew out from behind like lightning, and pierced into his shoulders and legs. It was Cathouse Bunny Ball. Just as he was about to make a killing move, Bunny Ball behind him also decisively made his move. Although Ryudo was the one who had stepped into the Dao, Bunny Ball had been keeping an eye on him. As soon as he noticed that Saito Kiryo was about to disregard martial arts, Bunny Ball took the initiative to disregard martial arts, and pierced a few needles into his back. With these 4 needles, Saito Kiryo's arms and legs immediately became completely numb in a short period of time. His body also froze there, and became a large target. Chapter 146. After realizing that he had been ambushed by Bunkomaru, he immediately turned around and shouted angrily, Bunkomaru! Boom! However, before he could finish cursing, Long Do, who was right in front of him, lifted his foot slightly and stomped on the carpet in front of him, a stomp that shook the ground. Using this special tremor kick as a starting point to accumulate and release power, this was the biggest characteristic of the ancient Bajiquan. At the same time, Ryudo's body was like a drawn bow that was filled with power. His body leaned forward, and the power was released from his heel, to his waist, to his fist, and violently smashed towards Seida's face. Moving like a drawn bow, releasing like a thunderclap, this was one of the ancient Bajiquan's signature moves, collapsing fist. When this powerful and domineering punch landed on the half of Seida's face that was not covered by the iron mask, even Rue Hui saw the guy's face distort like a cartoon in an instant, and then his whole body flew out in an exaggerated manner. Originally, with Ryudo's ridiculous physical fitness, the power of this punch was already quite shocking, not to mention that he even used a martial art. What was a martial art? Only a technique that could break through the limits of the body could be called a martial art. This set of movements, from accumulating power with the stomp kick, to pulling himself up from the ground, and finally twisting his waist to unleash his full strength, was much more destructive than a simple punch by God knows how many times. Therefore, when the fist landed on the side of Seida's face, Ryudo could clearly feel the bones in his body shattering. This was the first time he had used the ancient eight extremities fist to attack a living person, but it felt pretty good. The tremendous force traveled inwards through the cheeks, shattering the mandible and the last few molars. The force continued to travel to the maxilla, cheekbone, and lower turbinate, almost shattering all the bones in this area. At the same time, the strong force violently shook his brain, which had entered the Tao, causing his brain to hit the bone walls left and right like jelly in his skull, resulting in a severe concussion. Such a powerful punch directly to the face, the result was so terrifying. If Seida's physical fitness was not far superior to ordinary people, and he subconsciously dissipated a part of the force before the last punch, this collapsing fist would have killed him on the spot. Even so, entering the Tao could be considered the most tragic defeat he had suffered in the past few decades. Before he fell to the ground and lost consciousness, Saito did not forget to open his severely deformed mouth and used a muffled voice to curse. Although he didn't know if he was scolding Rabbit Ball for being immoral, or scolding Long Do for taking advantage of the situation, or perhaps both were within the scope of his scolding. Thump. But in any case, as Saito fainted on the ground, this accidental death battle finally came to an end. But after seeing the demon child fall to the ground, almost everyone in the corridor was stunned. Even Bunkamaru looked at Ryudo in disbelief. As the saying goes, the layman watches the show, while the expert watches the skill. The rest of the bodyguards and Ruehue at most felt that Ryudo's punch was very fast and smooth. Only Bunkamaru knew how complicated the martial arts technique was. It was actually Fa Jin. Which martial arts country did this technique come from? And it was quite ancient, quite lethal true martial arts. It was not the kind of fake martial arts that could be casually taught. According to Bunkamaru's knowledge, this kind of Fa Jin technique was very difficult to practice. Ordinary people could practice it for 10 or 20 years, and it would be difficult to say if they had mastered it or not. But this young man was at most in his teens, and he performed a complete set of Fa Jin burst fist. This was as ridiculous as magic in Bunkamaru's eyes. From this point of view, Seida's defeat was justified because he had underestimated Ryu Dojo. But after he wakes up, he will hate me and this young man even more. Why don't we just give him a fatal blow? At this time, Bunkamaru looked at Saito, who had lost consciousness on the ground, and slowly took out a long needle from his sleeve. It seemed like he was going to stab Seida's head. Previously, Bunkamaru disfigured the left side of Seida's face in their last fight, causing Saito to wear an iron mask that covered half of his face, and hated him for more than 10 years. Now, Ryudo's punch had smashed the right side of his face to the point that even plastic surgery might not be able to restore it to its original state. It would be strange if Ryudo did not hate him to death. Rather than leaving behind such a latent threat, why not just give it to him now? Just as Bunkamaru was about to make a move, a few messy footsteps rushed over. Hey! Stop fighting! Stop fighting! Give me some face! Although there was still half a corridor between them, Saito Takehiro's bear-like roar could be heard from the other side. At this time, Saito Takehiro's voice sounded hurried and anxious. It was obvious that he knew something big had just happened. Takehiro is coming. Looks like I can only let him live. Bunkamaru immediately put away the long needle and turned to look at the young man, who was hurrying over to Ruehue. But who is this young man? Is he Lilan? Or is he really Ryudo Kiryu? If Bunkamaru thought that he was Ryudo in disguise when he saw the pair of eyes, after seeing the punch, he felt that he was mistaken. After all, that kind of proficient burst punch was not something a young master like Ryudo Kiryu could learn. From Lilan's self-introduction, he was originally from a neighboring country and happened to come from the same place as this mysterious burst force technique. This unexpectedly deepened his credibility, If Lilan was really Lilan, and not Ryudo, then he learned martial arts from a neighboring country, and came to Yodo due to some accident. Then this explanation made sense. Could there really be people in this world who looked so similar, and even their eyes were almost the same? Just as Bunkamaru was feeling very confused, Ryudo quickly came to Ruehue and said to her, "Sorry, I have to leave immediately." It had to be said that the development of the situation had far exceeded Long Do's expectations. He could only leave first. After all, if Takahiro came to catch him, Ryudo would be questioned, and his identity as an outsider would be immediately exposed. Therefore, he could only choose to leave first, but before that, he had to say goodbye to Ruehue. Ruehue also nodded and said, "After such a thing happened, you can't stay here anymore, right? Take this, call me when you need help, any help is fine." Before Ryudo left, Ruehue took out a special business card with double-leaf sunflower pattern printed on it and handed it over with a gentle smile on her face. Understood goodbye. After receiving the business card, Ryudo looked at President Takahiro, who was still 50 meters away, and quickly rushed to the other side of the corridor. After seeing the waiter quickly running in the opposite direction, Takahiro also ran and shouted, "Waiter over there! Wait! Don't!" But before Takahiro ran to chase after Ryudo, Ruehue took a few steps to the center of the corridor and blocked their way. Seeing Ruehue blocking in front of him, Takahiro could only stop and ask in confusion, "Sister Ruehue? I'm chasing someone here. That waiter ran so fast. He must have something to ask." "President Takahiro, such a big thing happened here. You should think about how to explain it to me, not chase after some useless person." Although Ruehue's voice was calm, but it had a power that made people not dare to overstep. When he heard her words, Wu Hong's burly body immediately slumped down. He looked at Ruehue, who was obviously unhappy, and then looked at Saito, who was lying on the ground not far away, and said in a trembling voice, "How about we find a place to sit down and talk? We can talk about anything, we can talk about anything." To put it bluntly, this incident was caused by Saito from the beginning to the end. Although he didn't hurt Ruehue, but for Kamiyoshi, it was very rude to use violence. If it was not handled well, it may even lead to a huge crisis in the reputation of Saito Club. Therefore, after being criticized by Ruehue, Wu Hong immediately forgot about the waiter, who ran away not long ago. He began to nod his head and apologized to Ruehue. At the same time, he cursed the person who had entered the Dao 1,000,000 times in his heart. Just when Takahiro and the group behind him were all blocked by Ruehue, Ryudo had already reached the toilet in the corner of the 49th floor corridor. Although the toilet had the words "Women's Toilet" written outside, fortunately, there was no one inside, otherwise, Ryudo would be called a pervert who trespassed in the women's toilet. If I'm not wrong, the stairs to the 50th floor are firmly guarded, and I can only go up from here. Not long ago, during the riot, Ryudo vaguely saw several bodyguards standing on the stairs, and it was basically impossible to sneak in. So he quickly opened the small ventilation window above the women's toilet, and stepped on the sink, and climbed up with difficulty. Although the window was small, it could barely allow people to squeeze through. However, after poking half of his head out, Ryudo found that there was a drone patrolling outside. He immediately said to Sensible through the walkie-talkie, "Name, I'm now at the window of the women's toilet on the 49th floor. There is a drone patrolling outside. Can you hack in and temporarily change the direction of the drone?" After a while, Sensible, who was looking at the screen in the command center, replied, "If it's only about 10 seconds, it shouldn't be discovered. Is there enough time?" "Enough, start immediately." With Ryudo's order, Sensible immediately controlled the drone over there to slightly change the direction, and the surveillance camera was tilted to the side. As for Long Do, he leaped out of the small window. Without the slightest hesitation, he leaped nearly 200 meters into the sky. At the same time, a set of long hook with a rope immediately appeared in his hand, and he threw the iron hook to the edge of the 50th floor. Chapter 147. At this time, Ryudo's action was hard to describe. Even in Mission Impossible, such an outrageous scene would not appear. Just like that, he leaped out of the vertical space 50 floors away. Below him were pedestrians that were as tiny as ants and cars that were the size of boxes. If the iron hook that was thrown out at this time didn't catch the railing, then Ryudo could experience the feeling of leap of faith without the haystack in the next second. Clang! But fortunately, Ryudo's technique and luck were good, so the iron hook successfully caught the railing, and Ryudo's body, which weighed 100 pounds, was hung in the air by a rope. Phew! Very good. As long as he hooked onto the railing, there would be no problem. Long Do hurriedly climbed up as fast as he could. He was as fast as a monkey climbing a vine. After only 7 or 8 seconds, he appeared in the corner of the garden on the top floor of the 50th floor, and quickly hid his body in the bushes. Until then, the drone that was hacked by Sensible before returned to its original monitoring direction. However, because the time it took to turn around was too short, no staff noticed this scene. When he came to the top floor of the 50th floor, the first thing that caught his eye was a beautiful garden on the top floor. There were swimming pools, gyms, and many other private facilities in the garden, and at the end was a standalone villa suite. The villa on the top floor was obviously where Dunya was. After Ryudo slowly went up from the garden, he bypassed several bodyguards guarding the garden and the stairs. Then he came to the window of the standalone villa suite. After a little test, Ryudo found that the window was not locked. Perhaps Dunya opened the window not long ago and forgot to lock it from the inside. Squeak! So Ryudo gently opened the window and quietly jumped in without making any sound. Because of the passive skill's silent movement, Ryudo moved as light as a cat, and there was no sound of footsteps at all. After entering through the window, what came into view was a spacious, bright, and comfortably decorated living room. There was a faint fragrance in the living room, and there were many snacks and toys on the table. The sofa was also a little crooked. It was obvious that someone had stayed here not long ago. According to the information that Union had gathered, because the security of the Saitu Guild Hall was relatively weak recently, for the sake of Dunya's safety, she had actually moved here for several days. But now, Dunya was obviously not in the living room, and the light in the bedroom deep in the living room was still on. In the bedroom, if she happened to be resting, then it would be a blessing from the heavens. After Ryudo took out the bottle of mixed drug, hidden in his pants, he quietly sneaked toward the bedroom. The simplest way Ryudo could think of to kidnap Dunya was to drug her. After a while, when he saw her, he would quietly approach her and spray the mixed drug on Dunya's face. Even if she had a superhuman body, she would quickly be knocked out. Just like this, Ryudo held the drug in his hand, and like a scumbag who was about to enter the house, he quietly walked toward the bedroom deep in the mansion. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. The more he walked, the more nervous Ryudo felt. In the previous battle with Saitu, his LV3 courage was able to keep him calm. But seeing that he was about to achieve his goal of kidnapping Dunya, he felt an inexplicable sense of pressure. After all, no matter what, Dunya was Ryudo's concubine, and coincidentally, Ryudo was a blonde. A blonde sneaking into someone's bedroom and preparing to use the drug to knock out the little loli. This scene felt strange no matter how one looked at it. But even so, Ryudo had no way out. He crouched slightly, stuck close to the wall, and carefully came to the bedroom. He gently twisted open the door that was not locked from the inside. After the bedroom door was opened, a rather spacious room appeared. There was a huge and soft bed, a desk, a wardrobe, a TV, and other common facilities. But even if Ryudo sneaked in, he still did not see Dunya in the bedroom. That's strange, where is she? So Ryudo curiously looked around, trying to see where the lady was. But at this moment, he looked toward the bed and saw a new dress neatly stacked there. The dress that was as gorgeous as a princess dress was not inferior to Union's Rococo dress. Beside it was a small bra, a pair of white tights, and underwear. It was obvious that these were the clothes that Dunya would wear during the final stage of the celebration. With Dunya's doll-like exquisite beauty, It was not hard to imagine how many Lilicons would scream shamelessly when she wore this cute dress. But now, the problem was, where would Dunya be wearing the clothes that were on the bed? Dong! Just as Ryudo was looking at the clothes on the bed in a daze, there was some movement behind a mirror, not far away. Wait a minute. Could it be that it's not a mirror? That's Ryudo turned his head stiffly and looked over, only to see an exquisite naked body faintly appear from behind the mirror. Obviously that thing was not a mirror, but a glass door. It should be a bathroom or something similar. Although he couldn't see the situation inside through the thin mist, he could foresee that Dunya should have just finished bathing and was about to come out to change her clothes. What the F***ck? Madam, why do you have to bathe at this time? Are you kidding me? At the same time, Ryudo's face turned green, as if he felt a great danger approaching quickly. From the situation where Dunya's figure was close to the glass door, she should have finished bathing and could come out at any time. Because the clothes that she was going to change into were on the bed, Dunya would definitely come out clean, so clean that there was nothing on her. Ryudo couldn't imagine how awkward it would be if Dunya came out naked and bumped into him. In a simple way, it would be, Dunya, I don't want to be a human anymore. That level of awkwardness. Pa. Just then, from the glass door came the sound of bare feet on the ground. Obviously, Dunya was coming this way. Hide. He must hide immediately. But the problem was where to hide. It was definitely too late to go out now. So Ryudo quickly looked around the bedroom. But there was only a bed, a closet and a desk. There were limited places to hide. Damn it. It's up to the heavens. At his wit's end, Long Do could only quickly open a compartment in the wardrobe and enter it without even looking. Just as Ryudo went into the closet and closed the compartment door, Dunya, who was wiping her hair with a towel, opened the glass door and walked out. Her emerald eyes scanned the bedroom as she muttered to herself, I think I heard something just now. Was it my imagination? After confirming that there was no one in the room, Dunya walked to the bedside and sat on the bed. Although Dunya's body looked very petite, but when she sat down, the bed actually made a sound as if it couldn't bear the weight. But for Dunya, she was already used to this situation. After all, she was much heavier than she looked. But just from her appearance, Dunya could be said to be a beautiful loli that could be described with the word dreamy. Because she had just come out of the bath, her tender and jade-like skin was slightly red. It was as if a Barbie doll made with exquisite craftsmanship had been given the color of human blood. Her wet silver hair was tied up with a towel. The girl slightly raised her swan-like slender white neck. Her delicate white hands were holding the towel and slowly wiping her back. Perhaps it was because she was alone, but she had abandoned her usual pretentiousness. Her slender legs were casually crossed together, and her pair of snow-white feet were playfully raised. Unlike Union's well-proportioned and beautifully shaped feet, Dunya's feet were more slender. Her delicate and white feet were light and attractive. It was as if one hand could completely wrap them up. In short, looking at Dunya sitting on the bed wiping her hair, the scene was really as beautiful as an oil painting. The girl in the painting was surrounded by a hazy fog. The light above her head gave the perfect light and shadow, completely showing the tranquility and laziness on her face. This beautiful scene, now Ryudo could have a panoramic view. Unfortunately, he was in the closet and couldn't come out for the time being. And just when he had just entered the small compartment in the big closet, Ryudo immediately regretted. For a girl like Dunya, the big closet was usually divided into many small compartments, each containing different types of clothes. Unfortunately, the compartment that Ryudo randomly opened and entered just happened to be the underwear compartment. For some reason, Dunya had a lot of underwear. This caused Ryudo to immediately be buried in a sea of clothes when he entered. Ryudo Kiryu, swear to God, before I entered this small compartment, I really didn't know what was inside. When he was surrounded by a large pile of fragrant underwear, Ryudo couldn't help but raise his hand to the sky and made a gesture of swearing. However, just when Ryudo was hiding in a pile of underwear in fear and trepidation, and kept on muttering, I'm not a pervert, I'm not a pervert, I'm not a pervert, the most terrifying thing happened. This set of underwear doesn't look very nice. Why don't I change it? Dunia, who was sitting on the bed, roughly wiped her wet hair. Then, she casually picked up the underwear beside her. She took a few glances at it, and said something that made a certain person's hair stand on end. Chapter 148. Test Chapter. If you like this novel, please come to Chidian to support the original, thank you. The shadow body's slender sleeves were retracted. The blood from the sword sleeves was stained with blood. Her clothes were black, her body could only be seen. Looking at the back of her body, the Great Wu Dynasty's capable Binyanadong. Where could the appearance of the sword sleeves be seen? When he came out, he was wearing the front part of his chest, while the back part of his body, his internal organs, his pelvis, his skin, and his clothes were all pierced through. When he passed by Hongwu Tsongran, who was wearing the back part of his body, his sword sleeve was suddenly stained with blood. Came out the scene one fear. Came to answer Hongwu, and the others did not return. Open and hide fast. What do you mean by I don't care about you? What is this meeting doing for him? Wasn't he the one who ran away in the first place? Was it that? He came to Chong Bien, a young man who looked familiar and had good looks. When he saw Chong Bien, he went to Chong Bien to see Chong Bien, who was Chong Bien and Chong Bien. As soon as the roar of the urgent battle came, suddenly the corridor was not far away. When the beautiful and lovely children were immersed in it, the shadow of the beautiful and pretty Yanni was looking at Hongwu in the winter. Open and hide fast. Want also life, old Leo. This fight counts as Hongwu, the smiling Yanni Dong The girl's family naturally wants only this is as it is. Can't avoid shrinking, but also the spirit and the edge. Can't endure the strength of the tired man to come. This makes the strength of the body and the mind tired. The enemy outside many promises to pay should return to the outside. The fighting heart hooks the human race into the inner Hongwu. Taro hand hot. This one received. The head nodded. Good only Hongwu. The previous last room disease in the blood father's room opposite. Ma Bai Ming. Dan E in the destruction of the general's foundation. Not 100 years old. In the hand he cannot be handed over to the Guan Hui Ting Zhai. Often without anger or joy, violent and fierce temperament to guide the crippled young from above. The early generation to the mother's father's children that enter the Dao a Hongwu. The leader of the position will inherit the Dao. Let the eyes of the people not to Ju Du Chong Fan. But the position of the Dao will be the second. To turn to the person's leader will inherit. The words are not Hongwu's reason, simple and original doing, right? Guan Hui Ting Zhai will inherit back and forth Hongwu, will definitely refer to the leader, will replace the previous one. The previous life's father's Hongwu has passed not only. Yanadon, whose mother was Li Na was there. The engagement had been set, and the Ting family had disobeyed him to the extreme. The country had gone far away, and he had left home. Since the 12th year before last, he had been in Huihui. Shifeng Huasheng's restraint was not acceptable. In the free and independent way, the Li family's Tingzai was not happy, just like Yanadong and Hongwu. Speaking of strict rules, perhaps they were not. His younger brother Tang Wei was delighted, but he did not show it. When he came to laugh, he could not bear to see Hongwu. PFFF, Xingzai's fake iron-like face was fixed. After he had calculated and calculated, he was hit by a crooked attack and got hit in the face. He was really. The doctor of the emergency hospital rushed to deliver the emergency, but the uncle said, "You can't pass, there's no guest here." He said that Yanadong was smiling at him, and her smile was strange and strange. The iron on the board kicked into the second place, so much so that he didn't want to let Yanadon pass. It's true that it's extremely troublesome. Rubbing his butt, he's given a lot of resources, material resources and people. Because of this, the hall will meet Tingzai. Crippled, beaten, killed and beaten people. The hall will kick people in the martial arts competition. And the hall will kick people. How could Uncle Chong Fei be so perceptive as to think that she was, and that he could not think of Janadin as a silent speaker? She couldn't think of that close connection. She was the one who broke off the path and entered Tungzai. But she had a good impression of anyone who didn't have a few people's families. Tungzai was like a father to Yanadon. His eyebrows furrowed as he stood at Yanadon's side. He had solved the problem, and it seemed that he had entered Tungzai in a well-ordered manner. Why didn't the guest get hurt and hit him? Where is the future generation? Suddenly, the guests rushed out of the room. Since you have already asked all the questions about the classics, you have to rush to the starting point to tell your uncle that you are. Dao Shi Jiechong Mian is still trying to return him. How can a good talker open his mouth and say that he does not know some things? Naturally, he shows off his martial prowess. When he asks about love, it is not the love of children. What is the matter? What is the matter? The noise is strange. Go downstairs and listen to it. I just spoke. Dao Shi Jiechong Mian is puzzled and confused. His eyes rolled over his father's hometown. There is no Yanadon. This person is scolding. How can you come to listen to this? Inky's mother. You are not really. Dao Shi Jiechong Mian is too beautiful. Dao Shi Jiechong Mian is too big. He stood up and stood up. Hongwu's dejected head drooped a little. The guest in the back hall has arrived. Yanadon's dress is magnificent. With a ready thank you stage, it is easy to do. That Yanadon should also be on the side. She said goodbye to the marching hall conference banquet. She was about to get on the horse Hongwu. Right left 7:30. Kwang Mian is on the side of this Yanadon. The side of the question is Hui Rui. The good reason is Hongwu Tingzai. It seems that Kwang Mian has just arrived. Xiang Feng's door big room is lying down. Xiang Emo slowly is his own. He looks stupid. If he can't do this, he will swear that he won't fight the dragon. After that he woke up with empty breath. Come out of the pile of clothes in the back. Head peeking you. Come to the end, and also fight the dragon in the back of the cabinet clothes and hiding. Go to the hall guests head outside the door to open. First, my lord, the little one knows how to dance. Then she goes to the ready position. First, she looks like she is coming to see. Then she tucks her hair in silver. Then, she wears her clothes and changes them. Then she goes to Yanadon. It has been a long time. Branch 1's pile of clothes is already filled with fake succession. The pile of clothes in the back bearing the back brain point. Come out slightly busy. This batch of old socks Lilo has seen before. Don't look like a living one. Pull the suction movement of the socks to wear her quilt. The question point is like a good man who has come to fight the dragon. When the socks are on the top, Yanadon is straight. Isn't it good that she is staring at me? Wait a minute. Her legs were tender and slender, wrapped in silky white silk. Her upper legs were curled up in her stockings, and her lower back was quickly changed into Yanadon's side. The shadow body of Yanadon's clothes is put on the bed. In the light of the eyes are fixed on the comforting use. Come to the sick heart to scare me. Can I give you not be afraid of the number of times? Good not to the heart of the true matter. Come to wear the second set of fat clothes that start to open the most to take. Side bed to turn around and connect the straight woman. Love's clothes inside choose not to be Yanadon. After urging him to be the cause, the life of a fight the dragon to save the external meaning, but the appearance of the Hongwu. Come to shake the brain of the fight the dragon's ruler. In the near hand, there is no point to go to the roaring lion Dongha River G1. Let not be inferior to Hongwu's voice Yanadon. The daughter has to be the father has to say that she should respond. Go out and mount me. Don't make a fuss. Dao roar outside the door to turn around Yanadon. People are so annoying. Father is old and smelly. Come to the second set of people, don't also calculate. Outside him, except for the inside building of this man's roar, the Hongwu Tingsai. The roar of the bear is like a battle array. Come to the villa outside the door from the roof. In a flash, come out and pull him to grab the fighting dragon of the golden head. Just take a look at Yanadon. CKU. You're done changing clothes. Yanadon. Hey. Go to the side to grab the outstretched hand of strange good Yanadon. Don't be some obvious second set of fat clothes with the feeling of the hair. Don't mix the head with the inner clothes. What is that? Here he came to touch the Yanadon who already had hands. When the head was confused, the wonderful thing appeared in the brain of the fighting dragon should be right. Can you tell Yanadon if you want to laugh and treat it as a joke? She yelled at me to go out, jump straight, point crispy and dry. I don't want it. She yelled at me to go out, jump straight, point crispy. This is the true situation of killing and contentment, and it will be the first to emerge. The first to emerge will be able to be planted at the right time, and the first to emerge will be the right time to fight the dragon. The baghead person is hiding inside the clothes to touch. Can there be all the time? Go to touch the surface of the hand. The strength of the small pin has the white fiber to her. Separate a few close, and from the distance of the prison layer 80 feel is fighting the dragon. Carefully carry the thin inner clothes together with the Yanadon. Yes, enjoy to think about whether the heart has fought the dragon, not only smelling good and still fragrant. The body of the smell of the body is still the smell of the body, the breathing of the inner cavity of the nose gushing in. Horsey Yuan Xian, let the forbidden time pass by. In the face there are silk buds with some cloth. The soft quilt wrapped in cloth to the side of his body. Come to pray and fight the dragon again. When the time comes to find the inner layer of the virgin clothes, and stretch out the Yanadon to feel. Or 10,000, turn inside or 10,000, turn inside or 10,000, turn inside or 10,000. Trembling hair and shivering head, squatting upright man can be quick. Go down to find the inner layer of the virgin clothes. For a moment, the door was pulled open to hit Yanadon. The people who were close to the door piled up the clothes, and buried the people in the clothes for the whole fight. It was fortunate that there were enough people to cover Yanadon in the clothes. Come out. Jump inside the chest from the chest to the heart of the virgin dragons. When the door opened, the inner layer of the virgin clothes opened to fight the Yanadon again. Bound to the cocoon to make the ghost seed. This will not also be a dead fight. After calculating to re-kill the real fighting dragon of the virgin feelings, the inner layer of the virgin clothes, the inner layer of the virgin clothes, the Yanadon was really going to be killed. The law of using the time to kill the virgin will not actually be done. The right way to use the Yanadon is not to fall down the gun handle. The spear point rushed to take out his own hand silently. The foam spit swallowed the dragon. When the door wardrobe opened, the Yanadon was aware. La Hua. The wardrobe of the door opened widely. Come over and walk leisurely. This is the Yanadon. Sure enough, how can he not pray for him? But the prayer cannot be broken in the center of the fighting dragon. Okay, come over. How about you? Are you suitable to see my inner layer of the virgin clothes on the bed? Will it be? Trembling hair and body are muddy, cold feet feel only the fighting dragon. In the blink of an eye, the inner layer of the virgin clothes were changed. The kind of person who thoughtlessly wore the paste straight, fell off the wild brush, and the next change of the grade, and the second grade. Stealing the inner layer of the virgin clothes became a change. Is it that the words in the inner layer of the virgin clothes hiding to catch the person? The face of the child also went to say that the first name. Is it that the criminal is in the present, although the fighting dragon is in the end? When the clothes in the inner layer of the virgin clothes hiding in the inner layer of the virgin clothes, the Yanadon was naturally afraid of him. Yuan Wanbai was positive and negative. Death was not the most likely, and the words of the fighting dragon were in the present. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.